Social media. Right, I can see a few have come on. Hello, mother. Love you. I won't bring up the drink anymore, right? Hello. Not sure who that is, but hopefully you can register your name. Same here as well. Hello. I presume that means McDonald's. Not sure who that is, but hopefully you'll click on the link and can see who it is, and hopefully they can as well, whoever that is. Hello. What I'll do is I'll go into my, I think it's on this one. Yes, it is. I'm just going to put it there. Look, so basically, on the thing, before you come into the video, there's that little blue link, look, StreamYard.com Facebook. I need all you guys on Facebook to either come out of here, click on that, and then it basically gives your profile permission to use your name. So then you'll come up on my screen like that. Otherwise, loads of you come up like that, because it's basically not giving you permission to use your profile, basically. So I'm just going to, I think I've done it. Profile, basically. Who the hell is that guy? So hopefully it's going to let me click on that link. So I've just pressed, there's one, look. I've just put that in my motocross group one. So if you, all the people that are on the Facebook, if you click on that, it should give you permission to use your profile. Then I can see who I'm speaking to. Even Mum's got it right tonight. I've just put another one in there on my own Facebook, and then I'll put it in there on my group as well for you guys. If the people on YouTube, you don't need to worry, that's all set up anyway. It just sorts itself out. And I think the same on Twitter as well. But if you're on any of the Facebooks, three Facebooks, Facebook group, Facebook page, or whatever you're on, you literally just need to click on these links that I'm putting in the comments. So there you go. I've put a few of the links in the comments. All you people on Facebook, if you click on them, then it'll register that so I can see who I'm talking to. That otherwise, at the moment, there's loads of you not registering. Only Mum. You have done something right. Well done. Good morning from New Zealand. I'm not sure who that is, but good morning. Must be really early there, is it? Who's that? Love to know who that is. Love to know who that is as well. Evening. There you go, Chris. So Christopher's is working now. Look, working now, mate. So basically, just have to click on these links that I've put down in the comments, all you people on Facebook, and then it'll give your profile permission to use your name. No, whoever that is. Chris, yours is working. Mr. Robert Fetzin, how's it going? Going to try and get an interview with this man as well. Remember him in coming over and doing the British Speedway. That'd be really cool. Just spoke to John Davis as well before I come on, and he said he'd be up for a part 3. As you, a lot of you guys and girls that have been on here, as you'll remember, it was absolutely madness. So you should come on and check that out, part 3, trust. Evening, Dean. How's it going, mate? Hope you're good. My buddy Lee, how's it going? Hope you're good, buddy. Yeah, I'd love to get you on, mate. Be great. Mr. Owen Developments, how's it going in Oxford? Yes, Jane. So Jane's all hooked up. Evening. I'm not sure who that is, but hopefully they'll click on my link. Hello, mate. Old boy learner Kawasaki 22. Am I in? Old boy learner Kawasaki 22. Is that Mr. Anthony? Good evening, all. Hopefully, so you check out these comments that I've put in my thing. If you're on Facebook, you can either come out of this video, click on the link and come back in. You'll see a blue link on the post before you go in the video, or click on one of these links that I've put in the comments. Look, if you go through the comments, hopefully you'll see it. Clicks it on, and it just basically gives your profile permission. My man, Another cracking interview. Well done, mate. Yo, Mr. Wheeler, hope you're good. So my buddy will be on very soon. I just say to him if you can click on the link at 5 past, so it should be any time now. Not sure who that is, but evening to you. Hopefully you can click on the link. That's the only thing about the Facebook, with the Facebook group, Facebook page and all that. You have to click on this link to just basically register the privacy so that you can see your name, like my mum. And Chris is working, and an American Speedway legend, Mr. Fetson's working. Jane's working. Kevin's working. There's quite a few of you guys, otherwise it comes up like that. So if I go to quote you to the man Doug Dubach, you won't see your name. My man, Mr. Hobbs, how's it going, my friend? Slightly looking forward to the weekend. Bit of boat riding with the man. Ching ching. Buzzing. I think everyone that's come in this weekend can't believe their luck. So really cool. I know the man has had Doug Dubach on your boats, ain't you, Andy? I see the videos earlier. Hello, Mr. Neary. How's it going? Right, so hopefully, I know Doug is in Italy at the moment. He's doing, he's riding over there, so not sure what that is, but I'm okay, thank you. Hope you're good. Hopefully you'll register your name before we start. Hope you're not drinking vodka and Coke again. Mum's just trying to get me back because I told her she can't drink Prosecco on the boat at the weekend. I'm only doing it for her safety. Can't throw her overboard because she can't swim. Good evening, Peter. So Peter's all set up, so that's cool. So I can see you, Peter. Evening, Wes. The man, Super Evo. Beautiful. How's it going, mate? Super Evo, 90s Super Evo. Check him out on Facebook. It's got a group page and all that, and on Instagram as well. Mr. Carlisle, saw him up at Fox Hill. Hope you're good, buddy. Not sure who that is, but evening to you. Hopefully you can get registered on there. Just show you this again. If you go through my comments, I've been putting the link on there that all the people on Facebook, hopefully whoever that is from New Zealand, to click on it as well. Then I can see your profile like so. Dean, Lee Owen, American Speedway Legends already popped on. So I hope you're all good. Hopefully the man is going to come in here soon. Let me see where he is. Let me see if I can... So I was just, just speaking to John Davis there. Right, let's have a look where the man is. Because I did email him. All good to go, Doug? All good to go? All right, let's have a look at these emails. Because I was emailing him. Oh, okay. Okay. No, don't send that on here. Have you got it? All good to go, Doug. Right, he's answered my email, so hopefully he's going to be all right. Not sure who that is, but hopefully you'll register your name. It must be someone from Swindon because they know about Coat Water. Hello, James, mate. How's it going? I know you asked me to get you a one of the plastic cups at Foxhill, and I've got 2 of them, so hopefully we can sort that out. How are you doing, Mr. Ashby? Hello, Mr. Shales. I'm okay, thank you. Also got a live interview tomorrow night as well. So don't miss that either. I'm going to be on with another American legend tomorrow night of motocross. He did the desert racing. He did rallying as well. Absolute mentor. He won the 250 World Motocross Championship as well as this thing. I think I can see my man down in the bottom of my screen. We won't hear you, Doug, until I bring you in my screen. But So I can see the man is here, so we're ready to go. So let's just get the video going and we'll bring him in. Wonder when that was going to finish, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mr. Doug Dubach, how's it going?
Great. How you doing, Lee?
Not too bad, my friend. Not too bad. It was awesome to have a good chat with you at Fox Hill. Bit surreal for myself talking to you and Mike LaRocco, just hanging out.
A couple of old dudes, right?
Oh, mate, proper legends. It's like super weird. I'm like, can I just keep taking photos without them actually knowing? I'm like trying to just take it in. I'm just chilling at Fox Hill, my hometown, with all these American legends everywhere. It's absolute madness. But yeah, I'm a little bit excited about that, I must admit.
Now
So,
I have to ask you, Lee, where did you find that old Western Hotline photo? I don't know if you
oh,
noticed that. One of the
yeah,
photos that was streaming through your intro, Western Hotline.
yes.
Do you know anything about that?
No, I don't. That's why we'll have to ask you on that.
Well, in the old days,
Hmm.
I'm going to age myself, but Cycle News was our line of information.
Yep.
And so that little segment in Cycle News was for the local SoCal scene, like Saddleback, and Indian Dunes, and the tracks that were around back in the 80s. And we would all rush down to a local bike shop, Orange County Cycle, because it wasn't far from where Cycle News was printed. So we could get the newspaper Tuesday morning hot off the press. So we'd all
Yeah.
thumb through it real quick to see if we got a mention from the weekend's race. So that was interesting that you managed to pull that one out.
Yeah, I've got it on here somewhere. Hopefully I'll be able to find it when we're going through it. Here we are.
That's it.
Beautiful.
685, my first real number. I can't
Wow.
see. What does it say down at the bottom? Did I win,
Hold on, let me
crash?
get
What
rid of
did I
this
do?
banner in a second. It just says Doug Dubach won the 125cc Pro Class at Corona's Weekly Night MX.
Oh, well, that's quite an accomplishment. There's a couple of local hot shots there.
Yeah.
The David Taylor, Gary Denton, but the most famous portion of that night track was you went outside of the main stadium up in the hills. It was only a few straightaways, but it was like dark, dark. There's one little 100-watt light bulb dangling in the middle of the straightaway. It was pretty bad.
Yeah. Had to be a bit
Yeah.
careful, but when you're younger, you don't care, do you? Just go flat out and
Oh no, because you're stood to win $50 at the end of the night. So yeah, it was all worth every risk you took.
oh yeah, 100%. Oh well, I found something good. Let's see. I always dig deep, Doug. I always look through
No,
it.
that's great. I'm familiar with that photo, but I haven't seen it in quite a long time.
Oh, that's cool that it brings up that good memory then. So that's good. I literally dig everywhere I go. Facebook, Instagram. What's the other ones I go on? I go on all sorts. I go on Flickr. I go on Pinterest. I go on
Well,
every photos. Yeah,
that's the
that's my thing.
beauty of the internet, right? You can
Yeah,
find
mate, yeah,
anything.
that's it. That's it. It's good for some stuff, hey,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
reminiscing
that's
with
true.
legends like yourself as well. So it's all good. It's all good. Thanks very much for doing this. I do appreciate it.
Yep, you're welcome.
I know you're in Italy, I believe, at the moment. Is that right?
Yeah, Yes, I did a small race in Majora Park last weekend, and then I'm going to hang around for the GP. So
Uh,
it's been a very, very, very long time since I've attended a GP in Europe. So
mm,
I figure
looking,
I'm already here. I might as well see what it's all about.
yeah, looking forward to that then. So that's because that's the penultimate round as well. The last one's in England. So
Correct. Yeah. Dave King keeps threatening to capture me if it goes down to the final race. He says that I need to go to Majora. So, or I mean, sorry, to Matterley. So
yeah,
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 we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure. Can I think they can seal it up both classes if things go a certain way, right?
yeah. So we'll have to see how that goes. But that would be good to see you there as well. I'm going there as well, doing a bit of photography and a bit of media and stuff. So it'll be
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I went to Donations there. Gosh,
yeah.
probably 5 or so years ago, and that was a good weekend.
Mm. I went there early 2000 odd, is when it was James Stewart was there racing Everts, and his Everts' last race. That was
Yeah,
really,
pretty classic event, I hear.
yeah, yeah, it is. It's very I would say American, the track as well. It's got some super big jumps in it and stuff like that. So you guys love that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was good to watch. It was a little wet. Like the Saturday was really good. There was a bit of weather came through Sunday, so at the I think it was 18. Yeah, I don't remember the exact year. Whenever Donations was at
Yeah,
Matterley back then,
yeah,
but yeah, it was quite a good track. Just a little wet, probably for your typical Americans'
yeah,
taste.
yeah. Oh, actually, I remember that. That's the one where I think Matt Sansky won a race, didn't he, and things like that. I think.
Yeah, Anstey won a race.
Yeah,
Hunter Lawrence was on
yeah,
fire on that Suzuki
yeah.
250F. Cole Seeley managed to break his Honda both motos, so that was a memory that
Not good.
I couldn't get rid of fast enough. So
Actually, while we're talking about this, I've seen everything online with everyone's who better to ask than you. All this going on with the motocross, with the American Motocross Nations team. Is there going to be a team? I see stuff going on all online everywhere. Zach Osborne offering to ride and take his own stuff and just have a ride. And what's going on?
well, that's the funny thing. I've heard probably just about as many rumors as you have. And yeah, I mean, the list goes on, from where it was to where it could have been to where it is now. So I don't know. I think it would be a shame. It's easy for me to say sitting in a chair right now that why don't these guys go and race? But it's really disappointing. It seems like over the years, it's become low on the priority list for these top American riders, which, at one time, they would bite and scratch. In my era, I was like a second alternate or whatever I was one year, and I was so excited for the opportunity, and it never came. But I would have killed to get on that team and to go ride for the nation. But I don't know if it's the length of our season or it's just the pressure because they don't want to get beat, or yeah, I don't know. Really, it's I know like Chase is switching bikes, Eli's hurt. Some of our top guys have got legitimate things going on, but
Yeah,
man, there's a whole host of guys right below them that could go.
yeah, great opportunity as well, wouldn't it? To be for like you said, any of the riders.
Yeah, I mean, because anything can happen at Nations. We all know that, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of strong teams out there. France looks like they have a good team.
Mm.
You could go on and on for the why and the how, but just to not throw your name in the hat, I don't know. I just don't understand.
Of course, with it being early as well, that's well known to be like crazy, like atmosphere and everything. So it's a super cool event to be at in general, just to watch, let alone ride out. So you'd think that they'd make
Yeah,
sure.
I went to I believe it was 15 Erne, the donations, and what a great race! I mean, everybody was pretty much on the edge of their seat all day, and it was yeah, it was just a really good event.
It's got the Dutch man. Hello, Lee and Doug. Greetings from Holland. I know that's Hub. I think that's Hub. So we've got people on from all over the world. I see someone on here from New Zealand tonight already as well. So hello to them.
Yeah.
So I've got Andy Hobbs just come on. I know you've I'm actually going to go on his boat at this weekend. Can't wait for that. And I know he sent me a
Hey,
video. He
don't
sent me a
fall
video.
for the don't fall for the got my hand stuck in the mail slot, because he'll try and pull that one off.
He sent me a video earlier, a message of you in the back and all your family and all that at the back of one of his small boats. I think that he was zooming along
Yeah, I
on. It
think
looked
he even let my at that point Carter was maybe 12 or 13. Yeah, he let
yes,
Carter drive for a little while. I got a video of that somewhere.
brilliant. I'll
Yeah,
try. I'll
no,
try.
Andy's great. You'll have a good time.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah, 'cause he lives in the same town as me, Doug. So obviously I know him quite well as well. So it's
Oh wow, that's
yeah.
awesome.
We both live in Swindon near Fox Hill. Fox Hill, people see.
Yeah, I got to get on the list to get back on the boat. I've been
Yeah,
looked
yeah,
over
that's
the
it.
last few years, so I'm going to have to, resubmit my name, I guess.
Yeah. When you're over, you'll have to let us know, and I'll say to Andy that you're over, and we'll all meet up or something. Hopefully, Andy will let us on.
Yep.
So thanks for that, Andy. We'll see you at the weekend. Can't wait for that. Talking about Mr. King, Fox Hill. Obviously, you were at the vets. Saw yourself there as well. How cool was that? What an event again! It's just gone on another level again, just from last year. It was absolutely crazy.
You
Brilliant.
know, it's hard to explain, because I try to explain to people back home. They ask me,
Mm,
"Oh, where'd you go?" And I did this, I did that, and I did this event. I mean, clear back in 2012, the first year I went,
yeah.
I thought that event was amazing. We did a little fly around. Dave took us up in a helicopter to kind of introduce us on
Right.
Sunday,
Yeah.
and I'd only been coming in some back entrance, so I didn't really realize how big the event was. So we take off in this helicopter a few miles from the event, and I turned to whoever was sitting next to me, Jeff Ward or something. I'm like, "What's going on over there?" And then whoever was sitting next to him said, "Oh no, that's the race we're flying into." And I thought, "Holy cow, that looks
Yeah.
like a freaking!" I couldn't believe how many, paddock after paddock after farmers field was full of cars, and and it seems like it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And I know last year at Fox Hills was amazing. I thought, wow, that's really, if possible, even better than what Farley was. And then here we come along this year, and I don't think anybody expected it to be what it was. And man, the people turned out, but they were rewarded. That was some great racing.
Oh yeah, 100%. It was so cool. Like I said, for all us UK fans as well, to meet you American legends as well is always a bit super special. And there you go. I even got to meet two heroes that I've watched over the years. Amazing. And Doug, even thanks for that, Doug, as well. I thought, hang on a minute, I've got some cool cards at home. I thought I could get Doug to sign this. And there we go. Look, beautiful.
There you go. Yeah, the old lucky number
Happy days.
15 right there.
Yeah, they were cool. There, I just caught Doug as he was going off for the next moto as well. But
Yeah,
yeah, it was
yeah.
super cool to see you there. So are you planning to be back next year?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's kind of, I've almost become an honorary citizen here in the UK. And at
Yeah,
the event, I'm not sure if Dave would run it if I didn't show up. So, yeah, I'll certainly be back. Hope to be racing again and all that. Yeah, I
yeah.
keep telling Dave he's got to create a 60 class now that I'm in my 60s. So we'll see how that goes.
I think you give everyone else a hard time at a lot younger than yourself. So I think that would be a cruise for you. Dave's just come on. Look. Dave's just come on. He's put Wednesday trivia. Mr. Dubach is currently the only American team manager at Ernie Motocross the Nations.
Oh boy. So what's the question? What team is Mr. Dubach managing?
Yes, I'm governing. I didn't know about this.
Okay. Well, do we have like a little timer counter, like a game show? Ding
Yeah,
ding
like
ding ding. Waiting for
countdown.
somebody to pop in.
Yeah,
I know Dave knows, so he's disqualified already.
yeah. So that's why he's dropped this hint. I'm gathering. Is this news? Is this allowed to be out or?
I believe so.
Oh,
I've known for a while, so I don't know why
okay.
it should be any secret.
Okay.
So it's not Team USA. I can give you that hint, but
Yeah.
it is an American-based team that might just put you farther off from who it actually is. But and it's not Puerto Rico,
Just
which
about
is
to
the
say,
typical, like American team -2 or whatever.
yeah, I remember Travis Pastrana riding in that and stuff like that. I did a raffle of a bike that looked like that and stuff like that. But
Yeah, I thought that was pretty excited to see Wyndham riding again. This big
yes,
old beard. Yeah, that was pretty cool to see.
yeah, it was cool. Yeah, it was cool. That's just interesting then. So who knows this? Is anyone going to write this? Does anyone know this in the comments? What's this news? Is someone going to come out with it? Someone just put, I met Doug in the Paris Supercross many years ago. True gentleman. I don't know who that is. I might be able to try and have a look on my
So
face.
ask Dave, is he going to throw up like 2 tickets to the 2024 Fox Hills VMXDN for the correct answer?
Yeah, Dave.
Go on, Dave, step up.
Oh,
You can't just,
the
send out an empty request.
guesses are starting to come in now.
Okay, so
Team.
Team Hawaii, close.
Oh,
Actually, in proximity, that's not far off. Just
interesting.
think a little further south into the Pacific Ocean, down below the equator.
Let's see if anyone's said anything who that was as well. I bet Dave's like that. Don't say anything about tickets.
See? I knew you'd get cold feet as soon as I
Yeah,
said that.
legged it now.
Yeah, hold
Someone
him
must
to it.
know
Don't
this.
let him
Someone
off
must
the
know this.
hook. Tell him
Come on, someone
it's
must know this. I'll start googling it in a
it's
minute.
it's it's going to be a stretch. I mean, not too many people are really aware of this um, American territory, I guess we'll call it. Should I get like it's short name, 4-letter word?
Oh,
Yeah, we just and the more hints I give away, as the prize become less. Is it like Dave just
oh,
gonna give them nothing at the end of this?
apparently there's 2 tickets going, Dave. Is that right?
Well, oh, is this Dave's hint? A G
Yeah.
and an M with 2 letters in between?
G dash dash M.
That's a pretty good hint. You're gonna have to know your geography, though.
I know. I do my geography on football teams.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's not going to help you. I don't think this particular American territory has a football team, so you're out of luck.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Has Dean got this right? How do you? Oh, it is that? So he's got it right there. How do you even pronounce that?
Guam.
Guam. So Dean's our winner by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Team.
Okay, Dave, pay the man.
Oh, look, now Dave's telling us. I think he tried to tell us before anyone got the right answer.
so little history there. So Guam is an American territory, big military base down there,
Yep.
and so at the uh, World Vet Championships at Glen Helen a few years ago, they started doing kind of a team event. Not really like VMXDN, but similar flavor where you would form a team with 3 riders. And there was Canada versus U.S. versus Guam, who Sean Lapinovich, local pro around our neck of the woods, is from Guam. So since it's American territory, he grabbed me and Chris Kiefer. I think Kiefer did it twice. We're 3-time champ, Guam uh, Vets World Champions. But so just kind of as a side note, I went down there finally in April. We went and did a race and had some fun and whatnot. Well, the father started asking me because they did Team Guam. Not too many people know this. They did Red Bud last year and qualified for the A final and did quite well. I think they ended up 14th or 15th in the A final, so not so bad. So one thing led to another, and while I was down there, they kind of pressed me to try and put some bikes together and a vehicle and get this whole thing to go for Erne, and here we are. So I am official And like Dave says, I am the only American team manager because if the U.S. fields a team, we all know who's going to be managing that. And yeah, they are not American.
No, exactly. Yeah. Wow. So that's pretty cool then. So you must be really buzzing to go to that then. That's going to be awesome.
It'll be good, because like I said, I went back in 15 and it was
Mm.
a great race to watch. And now I'll certainly be busier. I probably won't get to see as much as I did back then, but
No, no, bit
what
more
a
job.
neat, it's just a neat event, a very lively crowd. The French love them, their motocross. And so, yeah, just the way that whole track lays out, you got looks like 100,000 people on the one side of the hill. And yeah, it's quite an event. So yeah, I'm still putting pieces together. We're trying to round up bikes, and so yeah, we're just trying to kind of cover all our bases.
Yep.
And it seems
Got
like
involved.
KTM 250 has been our struggle. We've had
Yep.
some and they fell out, and we've had another one and fell out. So yeah, any one of your viewers in the Ernay, kind of north western France that has a good KTM 250. We had a very fast young rider that wants to ride it.
Okay, interesting. That'd be interesting then. Um, so yeah, this sounds good. I think you might need one of them like team earphone things on or something. Have a job to hear
Oh,
yourself.
certainly had a headset. Even if
Yeah,
it's not plugged in, I'll be wearing one of those just to look the part.
exactly. Yeah, I can hear yourself think as well. Would be good way.
That's right.
Gonna
Keep
be
all the
mad.
outside noise down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right, I got some few people who are asking me some questions. Hub Gerlins, it was Hub Gerlins from the Netherlands. He's just put, hello, Doug. Who was the better stadium rider from Europe? So I think he means who was the good Supercross riders from Europe that you knew, and did you enjoy driving in Europe?
Yes, I did. Obviously, the big ones, the Bercy and Paris and Geneva. Um, there was, I did many, many Maastricht and Antwerp and, kind of all around. But what I sort of landed in was that whole it was called hard cross, even though it wasn't wood ramps anymore by the time I came along. It was all dirt. But I rode that German round for a few years there, and yeah, it came up against a lot of good guys. There was, gosh, we were just talking about Warren Edwards is a name that we were just kind of bouncing around.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so many guys, Bert Eckenbach and Colin Dugmore would show up. And I mean, I think JSR, John Sebastian Waugh from Canada, turned up there and was very fast. And uh, yeah, there was some good, French guys. It was a very, very good. Marcus Kovalainen, he was another fast guy. But yeah, just, when you go to actual Bercy or Geneva, it was always a lot of Americans. So yeah, I think that's probably from one of those indoor German races. But yeah, just a lot of good riders. And I did really, I kind of befriended a lot of people. I'm still good friends with my original German mechanic that helped me through a lot of that stuff. And, last year we went up by the Arco de Trento GP track and mountain biked for a few days. And so my experiences have just had such good memories because I've kind of held on to a lot of those friendships. So yeah, I did really enjoy racing in Europe.
Right, I've got Leo in here. He's from the UK, not far from Foxhill as well, actually. He's just put, so as a Yamaha man, what was the best YZ that you raced? Is it YZ you guys say, isn't it? We say YZ. Is it you say
Yeah,
YZ?
yeah. Either way, I think we know what we're all talking about.
Yeah.
But gosh, my
Mm.
probably my 91, 92 race bikes were pretty darn good. Those, I had some of my best results there. Those I still, my kind of downside through most of my factory career was injury. So I rarely had a good, clean season, and to where I rode like all 20 something races in a good, healthy form. But those were two good seasons that I had some good results, some podiums, and I won my one and only Supercross in '91. So those bikes were great. A little further down the line, I think the YZ426 was great. The original 400, which is what I actually raced at Majora last weekend, kind of good reminder that it was a little underpowered that first year of the 400. But
Yeah, yeah.
when by the time the 426 came along, that was a great bike. I actually almost last minute went up to Canada and raced the Canadian Nationals on a fairly stock 426 and won the championship. So that was quite rewarding, and I don't think I could have done that if that bike wasn't up to par.
Mm. So if it's in case if anyone doesn't know this, on obviously you're well known. You did a lot of testing throughout your career and after your career and everything. So did you really enjoy that side of things as well, Doug? To like give them guys that feedback and testing all the bikes and stuff like that. Did you enjoy that side of things as well?
Yes, that actually is a part that I'm sometimes I have to pinch myself that I got to be involved with so many kind of just industry changing things
Mm,
that came along, from fuel injection to four stroke bikes and disc brakes and just all kinds of things along the way,
mm,
just forks as they progressed and ignitions and all these things that everyone just took for granted when they went to their dealer. But, not a lot of people last as a test rider more than, 5 or 10 years. And I managed to make it more than 30 years as a test rider. So I was either faking it really well or I actually did a decent job. So I'm not sure.
I
But
think we know the answer to that.
it it was for me I went through all the like being a test rider opened the doors for me on the racing side
Yeah,
because this work ethic and the ability to kind of help the racing guys test, I
yeah.
believe, is what extended my factory career. I was like the babysitter of the team, taking care of all the younger riders, and I always helped with all the development of the race bikes. So
Mm,
I arguably that extended my factory career, but
yeah.
just being involved, and then everyone would give me a hard time that I was the only guy in the building that worked on both sides of the hall because the race shop was one side and the development OEM testing was on the other side. So
Yeah,
yeah, I definitely worked a lot of hours, rode a lot of laps, but to me, I grew up a drag racer's son, so I always had my fingers in something. I was welding or cutting or doing something at a very young age. So when I got into the testing side, I think that really helped me because I could communicate with the engineers what was going on, be it engine, suspension, chassis, whatever. A lot of it's learned too. You didn't walk in there day one knowing everything, but you spend enough time around enough really intelligent people,
yeah.
and you start to learn the whys and the hows of how this behaves and that behaves, and so yeah, I wouldn't trade any of it.
No, you've got some incredible experience. Just Mark was saying about that you were one of the first test riders on the YZ 400 and stuff. What was that like, Doug, when you first went from that? When you first had to go at the four stroke, what was your initial thoughts? Obviously, because everything was two stroke, and then all of a sudden it was the four stroke thing.
So it's kind of funny because I've been asked this question many times, and,
Mm,
and basically, when I first heard of the idea, before I ever laid eyes on the bike or rode it, I thought, oh boy, because at that point, there's kind of Husaberg out there, and maybe a heavy KTM, and some people were trying to modify XR 400s. Just my image was just heavy, slow. I can think the same thing everybody's image was back in because
yeah,
I first wrote it in '96, or a couple years before it became production,
yeah,
and it just they didn't have a great reputation back then. So I had those same ideas, like, oh boy, what are we getting ourselves into? And the first day I wrote it, it was in Carlsbad at the famous Carlsbad Raceway down in San Diego, California. And I think that was kind of a hand-picked track. You couldn't have picked a better track because it was hard and slick. So, four-stroke would really shine there. And I remember thinking, this thing will be okay. I don't know if it'll ever compete with a YZ250 or a current 250 motocross two-stroke motocross bike, but I thought there might be some potential there. Well, we got it about every 3 months. There's all kinds of levels along the way from pre-proto to proto to there's just stages. So like I think it was the third time it came. About 9 months after the first time I slung a leg over it. This was probably late '96,
Yeah.
and I'm like, wow, this thing is now because it had some performance, lost a little weight, because everything was all handmade. The first one, billet, nothing was cast. It was just heavier than even what the production bike ended up being. So,
Yeah.
but it just got better and better and better. And so by the time the pre-production bike came, I I was pretty convinced that this was going to change the industry. And a funny story, Mitch Payton, Pro Circuit, who we all know and love,
Yeah.
or at least some of us do. When the four the bigger bikes had been out, the 250 just came out. Yamaha was the only one in 2001, and I was just starting my exhaust company, and he was helping me build those first pipes and stuff. And he looked at me and he goes, these things are never going to be race bikes. These are just glorified trail bikes. I don't know what you got, because I'm telling him, hey, this is going to set the world on its ear. And he's like, they're just modified trail bikes. So he might have a little different opinion now.
Yeah, I think he might. Yeah, he's done a bit of work with them Kawasaki's, eh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's probably spent a few dollars making those run good.
Yeah. Actually, I did have it written down. Now you mentioned it about your Dubach racing. So you still doing all that with like all that sort of thing? What?
Yeah,
How's?
yeah. I've got one of my former employees is taking the reins and running with it, and they're slowly buying me out. We've got kind of a long contract. I'm still involved in that, but it gives me the freedom to come and hang out in Europe for months at a time. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's,
it's been great. Not having the daily grind. 21 and a half years of long, long weeks, long days, long everything.
yeah.
And so it's a nice change. I still love it. I'm down there testing pipes and laying out numbers. And, I mean, so it's still good to be involved. But yeah, it's nice to also not be down there, worrying about every penny and nickel and employee that doesn't show up.
Yeah. I bet that's cool to do. Like you said, come over in Europe and all that is really good. Dave's just put you rode that 1988 factory YZM 500 recently in France in July. It's probably the rarest of all factory bikes. What's it like to ride?
So, yeah, it's funny. That was such a short-lived bike. Some people know everything about it, and you'll find people that know almost nothing about it. But to me, as a kid, just and not even a kid, I was already racing pro and stuff. But I just remember looking at that bike like, wow, that is like the epitome of a factory bike because it was truly one off. It wasn't crafted from anything else, and so I think I'd oversold it. I wrote it a few years ago the first time, and I had definitely oversold it in my mind. And so I was a little underimpressed, to be honest. I mean, it was just still a great bike, but you get on a KX 500 from roughly that same era, and that's a better bike. So, and Yamaha's defense, they didn't develop it very long. They kind of got it all together with the intent of a couple guys racing it in GPs, and that was just after I'm sure the project started before the AMA put the production rule in. So kind of as that project was unfolding, it was never going to be raced in America. So there's a lot of things going up against that project. A lot of headwinds in its rollout, and so yeah, and then the project got kind of axed soon after. So yeah, I think there's a lot of potential there. I'd love to have one for myself, but since there's only like two or three in the world, I don't
Yeah.
think my checkbook wants to feel that big hit. But
No.
um, again, though, it's just getting to ride a piece of history like that.
Yeah.
It's
Very
actually nerve-wracking riding it. I keep waiting to tip it over and break a radiator or something. You can't run
good.
down to your local dealer and buy one of those. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was just a great opportunity to ride it. It just feels good throwing a leg over it and kind of looking down at it and heading out on the track. But yeah, I definitely had it much better in my head than the reality of riding it was.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Martin here just put about your your Supercross win in 1991 at San Jose. Did you get a huge bonus for this, and how did you celebrate?
Well, so it's funny. Not too many people realized it, and I didn't make any noise about it. But I was actually a privateer again that year,
Yeah,
because even though I was effectively on one of the factory guys for like 6 years there, that particular year I wasn't in the press release. It was just Emig and Bradshaw, and even though I had the full race bike, truck, mechanic, all that, they just gave me a stipend to go and race. So it was really a feather in my cap to win that race
mm,
because I'd been hurt all year. I rode like the first three and I missed like 7 or 8 supercrosses. Came back the week before at Oklahoma, got like a 10th or whatever, and then won the following week. So I definitely had motivation because I was trying to earn back my factory ride. And yes, that all that was to segue into my bonus. So as a privateer, like O'Neill and Shoei Helmets and all these people were like, "Oh, you're not a factory guy," and they all wanted to cut my salary. So I said, "That's fine. Lay it all on bonus. Give me good bonus." And I only asked for top three bonus. And so, yes, that was a very, very rewarding evening for me. And I'll
yeah,
tell you, Jim O'Neill, and everyone loves a good Jim O'Neill story, but that guy, he does not like writing those big checks. But he he told me that he'd pay me double contingency. And back then, first place as an O'Neill rider was a pretty big number. So double that number was a hard check to write. Even though he
yeah.
claims he enjoyed it, I don't think he did.
No, no. I was super lucky as well because I did a live interview with Jim Holly, and he
Oh,
actually was there, turned up, and just come on the live quickly. So it was a real, yeah.
yeah, no, Jimmy's a
That's,
great guy. He's a
yeah, cool.
lifelong O'Neill guy. But
Mm,
so celebrate. That's another little funny story in itself. So if you ever saw the finish line photo, Damon Bradshaw was about one bike length behind me going over the finish, and he got second.
yeah,
But he was happier for me than I think if he had won himself. So we were just, I mean, it was lit up all night. We went to like Denny's, which is, like a 24-hour little, food place in America. And he's calling his mom at like, it's 1 in the morning California time. So it's like 4 a.m. back on the East Coast. And he's screaming in the phone, Doug won, Doug won. And it was so great, great night, great memories. And, I was always kind of the working class guy. Maybe not the fastest guy on the track, but I would put in more work than any two or three people put together. So I think everyone really enjoyed seeing me win an event like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I think I might even. Is that the one?
That's it right there.
There we go.
That's my buddy Damon right there.
Mm,
I'll give you a little quick race recap. So
yeah,
being the whole shot guy for most of the 3 or 4 or 5 years, I didn't even get to start. I think I was sixth on the start. So I passed my way through, this guy, that guy, Jeff Ward, Larry Ward, whoever else, and I got around Stanton, and I'm like, okay. And my whole goal was to just beat Stanton, and get on the podium because Chicken and Matasevich were leading. And so, that was one whole thing going on. Those two, I thought, because Oklahoma the week before they had
yeah,
trouble with each
yeah,
other. So I'm like, oh man, if one of them goes down, I could get second. So, but I could just tell Stanton's, engine RPM, sound of his bike, all that, the whole time. He would get close, and then I would kind of eke back away. He'd get close, I would get back away. Well, so all within about 15 seconds, I see a crash, which I didn't realize they both went down. So I come over this triple that had a bowl turn right after it that I was spotting them, and I expected to see one of them. So I go over this triple and there's no one in the turn. So now I'm like, shit, I'm leading. Then, the Stanton's Mellow CR250 behind me turned into Bradshaw on a YZ250 for the last half a lap. All I could hear was and I knew him. I rode with him all the time. I'm like, crap, that's Damon. And of
Yeah.
course, I was like very happy. I only had like half of a more lap to go. But yeah, that was it. The run up to the finish line. Like I was the fastest guy in the whoops all night. That's kind of what helped me win that race. That's where I did all
Yeah.
my passing.
Yeah.
But if you go back and watch the video, that was my worst lap through the whoops. And Damon came right up behind me.
Jesus Christ. So that was a closer one. I'd like to watch that back. I'll have to check that out because
Yeah, it was a. I've got, and it's funny because I don't know where it is at the moment, but I have the Yamaha version where our guy stood up in the top row and videoed the whole race.
yeah.
And you can see there's not a single person sitting in those last probably 2 laps. The whole stadium was on their feet screaming because everything that was going on with Chicken and Cooper and Stanton and Bradshaw and me. And yeah, it was a pretty exciting race.
Pretty epic. I see the headline thing there. It says the doctor has earned his degree.
Yeah, there you go.
I like
Yeah,
that.
I'm not a real doctor. I just play one on TV.
Yeah, yeah. And I've got a question for that as well, but now we're on to that. I just thought I'd bring it up now. So, how did the nickname the Doctor come up? Who come up with that, and how did that all come about?
So, it's funny because there is a couple different stories along the way,
Okay,
but what I always understood it being, and then some guy from O'Neill saw me explain it in an article and then corrected me later. But so obviously, we've already touched on. I had some injuries all through my career. I had a knee and a wrist. Those two were very problematic. Re-injuring or whatever. So O'Neill was sending me different pants, like the surgeon, the doctor, just these different things related to my injury. So that's how I always thought it was.
okay,
So then one of the last things was Dr. D, and that one kind of stuck. So then, oh yeah, it was just Dr. D, Dr. D, Dr. D. Well, so I kind of explained that in an article, and then this guy from O'Neill that worked there for many many years, he contacted me and said, "There's a famous basketball player, I think it's Julius Irving, and he was Dr. J. That was his nickname all through basketball. Well, he was just retiring as Dr. J, and that's what this O'Neill employee claimed why he sent me that last pair of pants with Dr. D on it. So I
got
think there was a little with the injury thing early on, but then Dr. D was just kind of a nod to this really famous basketball player that was retiring. But needless to say, it's stuck and it's been with me for a very long time.
yes, yes. I've seen all the things, and I was thinking, I wonder what actually it was about. So it's good to hear exactly how that come about. That's interesting. Did you
Yeah,
actually like
yeah.
that nickname as well? Did you like that nickname?
Pardon?
Did you actually like the nickname as well?
Yeah, I did. It was just simple, and everybody knew me as that. So, everybody kind of garnished some sort of a nickname throughout their career. So, yeah, I was happy with that.
Did you guys always like it if you got on the front of the magazines, things like that? I suppose it's obviously good for sponsors and things like that, but obviously with your test ride and all that, you did a lot of that as well. So
Yeah, you can try and play it off like, it's just another part of the career. But no, I was always very excited. Like that motocross action there,
yeah.
that was 1989. That was my first real good year, mostly healthy, and was getting a lot of good results on the podium, outdoors, indoors, beating guys that were just my heroes only 5 years earlier. That's Johnny O'Mara behind me there. I think that's in Hangtown where I hole shotted and led for a while. And, Exeter, Virginia, Johnny's kind of home track because he was friends with Bailey. I beat him overall and got on the podium. And, yeah, I mean, you talk about excited. I was just happy with my results at that point in '89, and to get on the podium and to beat guys like Johnny O'Mara and Mickey Diamond and Brock Glover, and it's just like, wow. I never really put myself in their category. It's you can get way off into the weeds about the psychology of racing, but that was something that I struggled with for a long time. I think the the proper name is imposters syndrome, where you find yourself
Yeah,
in a place that you don't really feel like you belong, and and it's real. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a struggle, and I had to kind of push my way through that to eventually be comfortable in my own shoes.
yeah. Doug,
So,
did you prefer Supercross over Motocross or Motocross over Supercross? What did you?
I guess if you ask me that week in, week out, I could probably give you a definitive answer. But just as an overall looking back,
Mhm.
I think I podiumed almost equally. I never won an outdoor race, came very, very close, but and I did win a Supercross. So I guess you'd have to give the nod to Supercross. But
Yeah,
stood on the podium many times, indoors and out, and so I just I never tried to you know acknowledge that I had a favorite. I guess is the right way to say it. Racing, because I didn't want to feel like, oh well, now we're into this season and I'm not as good. I just tried to reinvent myself as on the daily to be as good as I could be, and just keep kind of plugging away, going down that road.
did you do that as well with like tracks? Where people sort of, I suppose everyone's got a few favorite tracks or a few favorite terrains. What was yours? And did you try to
Yeah,
do that with a track you hated? Otherwise, you're doing that.
I tried not to hate any, even though there were some that were worthy of hating. Um,
Yeah.
but you know, I tried to just look at the opportunity ahead of me. I'm, get to race a motorcycle for a living, and here we are. And I would try and, that was almost the mantra that I learned to present myself with at each track I got to, just so I didn't ever allow one to get me down. But Millville, Minnesota was always one of my favorites. There was Washougal was always fun. I'm a local at Glen Helen, so I really enjoyed riding the National there while it was there. Southwick, I had some being, it's funny, the first time I ever went to Southwick as just a rookie, I did really well. And I'm a saddleback guy. I mean, saddleback Carlsbad, blue groove. And I don't know how I figured out how to ride sand, but, I whole shotted there. I think my last race there was on a 125 because we didn't ride 500s back
Yeah.
when it was 250, 500. And I got like third in the first moto behind Doug Henry and Lusk, who are a couple really good sand riders. So, I mean, there's I think I've had a pretty good highlight at most of the tracks, in various years. So yeah, there's certainly times where the prep, wasn't what you wanted it to be, or Mother Nature came in and kind of turned everything inside out. But yeah, I don't know. I can't really say there was one I disliked that
That's a good.
much.
Shane's got an interesting question. Mr. Stratford, he's put, could motocross be part of the Olympics? And if not, why? Hmm.
So I think because I've pondered that exact question years and years and years ago, because it has so many elements that would qualify. You've got a lot of nations that are very motocross, heavy, so that you could certainly have enough nations invited and involved. But I fear that the machinery side of it, because it seems like Olympic sports are almost absent of machinery. So, like car racing, motorcycle racing, that sort of thing. So, in my opinion, that's what's kept it from ever making it on that Olympic stage, because, it certainly would have been entertaining for the fans. I mean, look at how much we all look forward to donations at the end of each year, watching all these different countries put forward their best athletes, and see where the cards will fall. So yeah, I think it would have been great, but I fear that the machine side of it somehow kind of was just not, it didn't fit in their, it's kind of the way they wanted to present Olympic sports.
Yeah, I get you. Not sure who this is, but they put great to race with Doug at Fox Hill. Got to sit next to him on the start and watch him disappear into the distance.
Oh, that's a nice compliment.
Did you see that one? We like that one.
No, it's funny you say that, or the comment, because back in the early days, you were so focused on racing, you didn't really acknowledge as much as you should have all the people around you, especially when you went to foreign countries. I was just so, just in this tunnel vision of, okay, every lap of practice, time practice, gate position, drop of the gate, all that stuff. But nowadays, being a bit more relaxed racing, it's great. You sit next to guys that they're just out there for all the right reasons, and it's really good to be in the same, just on the same track on the same day and sharing that experience with them. Because I'm just like they are. They look at me like, oh, he's done all this and been all these places, but I'm just still rapt to be out there riding my dirt bike. So it's we are living in the same dream.
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty cool as well that you guys do that. Martin's just said, just how cool was it to ride at the LA Coliseum, especially going up the peristyle and jump blind back into the stadium? Was this one of your favorite Supercross tracks, or is there another one you preferred? That I loved watching that one as well.
So that
That was,
LA Coliseum was my first Supercross podium, so I got
oh,
some great memories there.
yeah,
But I'll tell you, jumping down in the blackness of the night through that peristyle back down onto the floor was not for the weak at heart, because you'd come out of that turn and it was so, the dirt they brought in was very hard and slick, so a little choppy and dry, and you've got just a short little straightaway, and it wasn't rounded off. It was pretty square at the top. So you fell a long way before you touched earth again. So, the bike was always hopping around, because you're trying to get down there as quick as you can. So yeah, you can ask Larry Brooks how he enjoyed his trip. I
yeah.
think we all remember, I think he hooked his handlebar. He did something, but man, going down there, or Jason Upshaw, I think he had another wild ride, but, it was unnerving. Yeah, just jumping down into the blackness of the night, because you can
Yeah,
kind of see the football field that was way down there, but immediately, and it was never straight. I don't know who the track builders were, but they never made the straightaway and the down ramp line up. So you always had to kind of have a feeling of, okay, I got to be a little bit left or right or whatever they decided that year. So yeah, it'll be neat to see it go back there this year. But yeah, it's probably been too many years since it's been there.
yeah, that was super cool to see that. I remember that a lot. And so it's almost like, say, Fox Hill, Doug, but turn the lights off.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Turn the
Right
lights
about
off.
the time you're ready to drop off down one of those big hills. Yeah. Just turn the lights out.
Yeah, I've rode around there as well. No, thank you. Oh, brilliant, brilliant. I love that. I love that. This is a good one. I've got this down as well, Lee. So I like that. He's put right, Doug, putting you on the spot. Who was the most disliked or worst teammate?
All right. Well, let's go.
Yeah,
It's funny because I've had, you know, the list is very, very long, from, you know, uh, guys that everyone liked to guys that people didn't like very well. So, I've Brock Glover and Mickey Diamond, Bradshaw, Emig, Mike Craig, Larry Ward, Larocco, Sean Kalos. Gosh, there's probably another half a dozen or more that I've drawn a blank on. But I will say that in the time when Emig, Bradshaw, and I were the three guys on the team, Jeff didn't really fit in with us. He had kind of his own little program that he lived by and, worshipped. And, Damon and I, we were pretty just, I don't know if normal is the right word, but we would go and eat together and ride together. And, Jeff always was a little removed from the team. So he wasn't a team player. So he was a little difficult at those times. I'm friends with him now, everything's fine. But
yeah,
yeah, it was always a little bit of a weird thing. I think, to be honest, he was intimidated by Bradshaw because, Damon, he'd get out of the rental car and tackle you right there in the grass and wrestle with you for 3 or 4 minutes till you're both huffing and puffing and full of grass stains. So yeah, that's a little intimidating to some some people. So, um, but
yeah.
yeah, I think, hey, yeah, everybody's got their personality. It's most everybody I'm still friends with. I mean, from Mickey Diamond to Brock to I see Mike Craig around. I ran into Larry Ward at Washougal last year. Just LaRocco was just at Fox Hills. So I haven't
Yeah.
talked to him in a long time, and
Mm.
he and I love hate. He wanted to kill me one night at Anaheim. He claimed I nearly broke his. I don't know what I did, but him and Big Mike LaRocco, which you don't want to deal with, came over
Yeah.
and let
I
me know
remember.
how they felt. So I
Yeah, I
mean,
remember
we've
that.
all kind of had those. Just it's the passion of racing, and when it goes a little sideways, everyone's ready to let you know about it.
Yeah, because even at that, even when we were talking, I was thinking, I wonder what's happened with these guys over in their careers and stuff like that, and like you just like end up chatting so many years later. I was just thinking that myself when I was with you both.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, kind of dies down. Even, everyone knows the Matasevich Bradshaw rivalry. You think those
Right.
guys would still be, sending bombs to each other in the mail. But, you know, I guess I wasn't there. There was a ride day a couple years back, and they were at the same ride day, and people said they were just kind of chilling, just chatting away. But so yeah, I think we all can get sort of pushed into corners, and then you come out with your hair raised up, ready, fists clenched, ready to go to war. So
Yeah,
we've
cool.
all been there, but at the end of the day, we've all got so much in common because we've yeah, that might be Laraco there
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, that's what I just
telling me. Well, I know it's Laraco, but that might have been the night that he was saying that I tried to jump on him or something. But yeah, I mean, Mike and I were very similar. Maybe neither one of us were the most polished guys on the track, but we had, hearts of a lion. We would go to the checkered flag. I don't care who you were. And
yeah,
so, I mean, those personalities are going to clash. There's no doubt about it.
yeah,
So,
sure. That was a good question. I think Dave's got one of mine down as well. I see, so we'll go with that. He's put, what riders did you look up to as a kid? Who were your idols?
well, kind of the obvious from my era was Bob Hanna.
Yeah,
It's like Hannah was just he was just tenacious enough and enough of an asshole that you loved him or you hated him. And he was a Yamaha guy and I was a Yamaha guy, so yeah, we all
yeah,
kind of knew the same people. But you know, uh, Donnie Hansen, Marty Tripe, those guys were kind of because they were guys I would see around local tracks and local races. But kind of the European guys, because we only, again, cycle news, we could get nothing on TV. We didn't know much about their racing, but, it was all the kind of, Wolfsink was always the guy that dominated Carlsbad. So, to me, he seemed like the best guy in the world, but, I know there was other guys winning championships, but,
yeah,
Carl Quist on the Yamaha, just, he always looked, I tried to model myself after a guy like that, just tough as nails. So,
yeah, yeah,
um, and as the years go by, you get to meet, the Graham Noyces or, Dave Thorpe's, and it's just Jackie Vermont, just all these guys are really great people. And I think a common thread we all have is it's like any sport. You lay your whole heart and soul out there, for everyone to step on and kick and prod, and so I think we've all walked in those same shoes. So at the end of the day, we all understand each other to a certain degree.
yeah. Ian's just put, obviously, talking about nice guys, he just put, obviously, you are a damn nice guy, a gent and a scholar. He's just put, in your eyes, who is one of the nicest persons you've come across in motocross?
Guy Cooper comes to mind because, it's funny. Guy and I were rookies, same year, 1984. We're both on 125s, scrapping for, the $12 you would get from an AMA purse back then.
Yeah, yeah,
And same kind of, I'm driving a little pickup truck by myself at times. He's got a station wagon with his wife on with a 3-rail trailer towed behind. So I think we've shared probably deeper than most because we did it truly with a few nickels in our pocket, a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter, trying to just get through all the nationals. But he's the one that comes to mind because he's a real genuine guy. He's
yeah,
out there again. he still races. He's out there with them twin shock, whatever they are, Hodakas or what's his bike of choice. But anyway, and it's funny. He and I came back around and raced those YZ100s. There's like a little 100 series they put on, and I went to Texas, and he came out to California, and we freaking banged bars like it was 1984 again. And this is only like 5 years ago. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, there's truly a lot. But the guy probably stands out. Mickey Diamond's another guy. I grew up with Mickey locally. I knew his family, his dad's brother, everyone, and just super nice guy. In my opinion, he got a little carried away with this, the fame and the fortune, but he was just in France there last month when we did that race in Normandy, and it's just great catching up with him. He doesn't live that far from me. It's a few hours, but I seem to see him in Europe more than I see him back home in California. But again, just back to that same thing. We're all there for the right reasons, and no matter what sort of maybe bad roads you went down, you're still a pretty good human to survive that many years in motorcycle racing.
Definitely. I did a live as well with Mickey Diamond. That was cool a couple of years ago. But he was a really nice guy as well. I'd love to get hold of, hopefully I'll try and get hold of him for you. I'd love their Time Cooper. I'd love to
Oh,
try.
Guy Cooper, he'd be great. Yeah,
Yeah, I'd love to speak to him. Yeah, that'd be cool.
yeah,
Um,
he's a good guy.
what do you think? Because we're going to mention that, and Shane's mentioned it here. What do you think? Have you got to have a go on any of these electric bikes? Obviously, he's mentioned here as well the Start Varg one.
Uh, I rode, gosh, I'm like 100 years old, so I have a bad memory. What was the one that came and went? What was that first one? Anyway, I rode one a while ago. Yamaha bought
Yeah.
one as a test bike, and then I'm told that I'm going to ride that latest one here in Italy maybe next week,
All right.
Monday or Tuesday after Majora. Somebody had
Nice.
that, so it's. I don't know how soon it will actually arrive to replace a gasoline powered engine, but I think there's a lot of value in them. I mean, look at on the bicycle end of things, it's brought more people into bicycling that would never have done it otherwise. So, if it'll allow some parks to stay open or more access to riding areas, yeah, I'm all for it. Will it replace a gas engine 100%? I think that's still quite a few years down the road.
Yeah, yeah. I hope so. Like an engine, Doug, eh?
Yeah, they've
But I can,
treated me well over the years.
yeah, exactly that, exactly that. Yeah, well, hopefully. Yeah. And he just put this as a good one. He just put so you can pick one name. He likes I like these. Who in your eyes is the best rider worldwide, any era, to grace our sport? Jesus,
Boy,
that's
that's
easy.
that's well, but I mean, I've been asked similar questions over the years, and it's really hard because you can pick, like I say, a Bob Hanna of
Yeah,
old. You can pick a Roger DeCoster. You can, but some of the most talented, like one of the most talented guys I've ever seen on a motorcycle was Ron Lachine. He didn't have, all the accolades and championships as others around him, but there was no better guy on any given night than that gentleman, or night or day. I mean, that guy would do, I can tell you Ron Lachine stories probably until the freaking sun comes up. But,
yeah,
um, another guy that comes into mind is JMB. Jean Michel was just, nobody gave him a lot of credit for kind of, the how James Stewart, changed the sport. I think JMB was doing things on a motorcycle that people really didn't realize because he came and went so fast.
exactly.
Um, yeah, so it's really hard to pin it down on one particular guy because
Yeah,
James Stewart, for all the faults he had, that guy, I mean, he did things that we all just sat there with our mouth hanging wide open, like, did I just see what I think I saw? So, and again, he pushed the limits. So, it was, yeah, he did change the sport, the scrub and all that kind of stuff, but just that that sort of determination to win. Ricky Carmichael had that determination to win, but Ricky never had James Speed. So, Ricky obviously won a lot more because I think it takes a lot of ingredients to be a top rider. And, if you're missing a few, you're going to hit the ground. And that's kind of what James found out.
Yeah.
But, you know, kind of fast forward to today, everyone's looking at Jet Lawrence.
Mm,
Oh, he's amazing. He's fabulous. But to me, he is, he's just mature beyond his years.
mm,
I wouldn't say he's light years better riding wise than insert any name in there, a Prado or a Sexton or, just there's guys that can ride that speed. But what I think Jet has is he's got a maturity that's somehow linked up with his youth and creativity that's really been hard to beat. I mean, look, Chase beat him, the last weekend, and that's going to happen.
mhm.
Once he gets a little more comfortable in Supercross, we'll see if he can do some big long runs of winning. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
that's yet to be seen, but
Mm,
um, yeah, I could probably just ramble on and on. I'm very analytical. I watch how everyone
yeah.
rides and what they do and what their
Yeah.
strengths and weaknesses are. So yeah, I guess that was a pretty weak answer to pick a guy and really stick my neck out. But that is the beauty of racing is we get to experience all of that. Pay attention because there's a lot of neat things going on out there.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like you said, all the different eras. There's just so much talent.
Yeah,
But
because people pose that question. Sorry to jump back in.
yeah.
Oh, if you took everyone from their peak eras and had a time machine and threw them, it's just never going to happen. There's just so many different elements to every era. So anyway, moving on.
Moving on. Someone said Shane just said it was called Alta. Was the first electric.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one. We bought it. Everyone touted, "Oh, this thing's going to be great," but when you put a top rider on it, let's just say at Glen Helen, because that's where we rode it, you ride 3 hard laps and it shuts down into a limp mode because you've overheated the battery and the engine. So, and I know that some of those problems led to their demise, but yeah, I've yet to see one that can go 30 plus 2 in deep sand or a very hilly, wet, so, but, I'll be
Mm.
proved wrong one day, but I just don't think that day is, real soon.
How
I just don't
bizarre
think the
will that be?
battery technology is there. But yes, Alta is the correct answer.
How bizarre will that be as well when you get to go on this? I presume it's going to be the Stark, and it's going to have like no clutch and things like that. And obviously, I gather it's got a lot of torque, etc. But it'll take get some getting used to, I'm sure.
Yeah, because I've talked about that with some different test riders that I won't mention because we're all under a secret code.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but that even regardless, no transmission and all that, I would still want a clutch because I am so particular about what's going on with my right hand to my rear wheel, that connection. And if there's any deviation or a misrepresentation of what I expect,
yeah,
I want a clutch that's going to bridge that gap of from what I expect to reality. So I
yeah,
don't care how magical this electric engine is, I still want to have that little lever that will help me get the exact delivery I'm looking for out of the rear wheel.
yeah, yeah.
So yes, it will be quite an
Mm.
adjustment to ride without a clutch.
Yeah, I'll have to message you soon when you're once you've had a go at it. I'd love to know what you say about it and stuff and see what you think. It'd be interesting. All the
Yeah.
tests over the years, it's no better person to test it than you. Uh, Dean's just put Doug. What was your secret to great starts off the line?
So that was an evolution in itself. So I was not the greatest starter. We'll just leave it at that. In my early national career, I could get a good start, but it was just almost a roll of the dice. So not too many people know this name, Gary Denton, who was more successful on four wheels than he was on two. He's a good little privateer on the nationals, but he became like 1,000 time quad champ or whatever it was. But he was always a good starter, and so one of the years, I think it was between maybe 96 and, or sorry, 86 and 87, I kind of, he was a friend. I knew him, we'd go goof around together. But so he really helped me, and he laid out a lot of real solid information. And then I took that and put my own spin on it. And I think at that point, I was the only guy that was really putting a lot of thought. I kind of became the encyclopedia of starts. I put a lot of little pieces in play to where I was probably just more equipped when that gate dropped than anyone around me, because I put a lot of practice. Because like nowadays, everyone's starts gates. These engine control devices. It's all this kind of stuff. And now you look at the whole freaking 20 guys going into the first turn of the Supercross, and they're all shoulder to shoulder because everyone's very good.
Yeah.
But I think back then I was just a little ahead of the curve as far as understanding what it took. You know, kind of one of the things is, I do a lot of motocross schools with kids back home and whatnot, but some of the key things are you've got to understand what are the elements. How much traction am I dealing with? What size bike am I on? How much clutch? How much engine? And because all the engine is just a ball of energy that you're grabbing onto with the clutch. So as soon as you start to understand some of the real basics, then you can start to make subtle adjustments for a grip levels per se. I always tell all the kids, hey, grip level is a number. It's 1 to 10. The better you get at understanding that, the better you're going to have a go-to when you see that amount of grip at any particular race. I'm not happy with all this metal grate stuff because I think that takes away some skill within the racing. So whatever, that's neither here nor there. I'm going to sound like the grumpy old guy that was better in my day, but that's not what I'm saying. But so just within that, you've got to understand what are the basic things you need to do, and then you execute those. And then the more you can understand why did that one not go as good as the other one, then you can make those little adjustments and you become a very good starter. You might not whole shot every time, but you will be one of the better guys come gate time. That's actually not the best. I'm not sure what I was doing there. I would criticize that guy if I saw that guy, but
Yeah.
he's got a few things right, but there's a couple things that
Yeah.
he's not doing so good. Just
Yeah.
those feet should be in front of the pegs, but maybe it was a little bit loose that day, so I was trying to get some weight back.
Yeah. It does look quite loose, doesn't
But anyway, yeah, it was a lot of thinking, a lot of notes, a lot of time out there practicing to understand my bike, the soil, and just be a little more prepared than the next guy. That's what it took.
Got a few guys all just coming through now. Gary Hoptroff, please tell Doug I enjoyed every minute of racing with him at Fox Hills, but I will update the 86 Honda for 2024. Wink. Gary, I'm sure
Well,
Gary's the one who always dresses.
good on you, Gary. So here's a good example of something that I just spoke about, a few minutes back. Gary, never met him before in my life. Last year, sitting right next to me on the, in the little staging area, had a little chat. Ended up just trading back and forth. I mean, the whole weekend, it seemed like we were glued to each other. Good sport. I assume he had a good time. I had a good time. We were all smiles at the end. Even though I think I broke his front brake lever or something because I was such a dirty rider. But I'm old, so I probably didn't see him, and that's why I ran into him. But so again, this year, same thing. We were kind of stuck together like glue, and it was a good time. So, and on that note, I'm going to bring a better bike next year as well. I was a little disappointed in the front forks on the bike I raced just a few
Yeah.
weeks back, but yeah, good hearing from you, Gary. I'm glad you chimed in, and we'll see you in 2024.
Yeah, I'm sure Gary's the one that always looks like Ricky Johnson. He's got all the whole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought it was. Yeah, I thought it was. I was going to say, yeah. I think when we were having that chat in the pits, I think you mentioned that you'd like to bring some, like, to be, with some suspension and stuff like that. So I remember you guys all used to do all that when you come over to Europe. Normally, you would do stuff like that, wouldn't you? And bring a
Well,
few
yeah.
bits.
I mean, we
Comfy.
obviously had the advantage of knowing the bike that we were going to
Yeah,
get there. We usually get on a brand new stock bike, so
that's
we would
it.
bring
Yeah,
whatever elements, fork, shock, maybe a brake, or something. Here, it's a little bit of a shot in the dark. It's, am I riding a Yamaha this weekend or a
Yeah,
Kawasaki?
yeah,
And then we get on it Saturday morning and we're, halfway through the day still trying to figure out how to
yeah.
shift it. So, yeah, I'm hoping, and I keep threatening this, to be a little more prepared next year. Try and ride something that I've prepared at home and just sent at least some pieces to put on the same year bike once I get here. So, yeah, hopefully we'll both upgrade, and Gary and I will be stuck together again,
Oh,
just at a
yeah,
little quicker pace.
that's it. That'll be funny. It probably will be as well. Martin just said, how different was is it Osaka and Tokyo Supercross Tour, the European ones, the fans, and did you try Japanese food or were you playing it safe with McDonald's?
Well, that's a lot of pieces to that
Yeah,
question, so I'll get to each one of them.
yeah,
Um, they were very different. Their track builders were like road workers. They built highways and things like that. So I can remember the first time it was Osaka Supercross, and it was like Excite Bike. If anyone remembers that old video game where everything's very square, there's no transition. Everything's just that's how the track looked. And thank God it was kind of a sandy base and it broke down really quick, but it was it was difficult.
Mm,
Um,
sketchy.
I did enjoy them. I mean, yes and no. They always put it on Thanksgiving weekend, which is our big, American holiday is Thanksgiving. And we would always be in Japan racing. And it was part of our contract. We had to do 2 races in Japan each year. So there was some kind of love hate there. Um, and early on, I didn't do great with Japanese food. I'll be honest. Ron Heben, who was Mickey Diamond's mechanic, he fed me something that made me sick for like 2 days. So that didn't start off very well on that first trip. But so there was a couple trips to McDonald's.
Yeah,
But since then, since I've now been to Japan probably 45 times because of all the testing, I've been going back and forth and,
yeah.
got the job to train some of their factory riders and do motocross schools for even their younger riders and that. So I've been there enough that now I am very proficient in the Japanese food. I'll eat just about anything.
Mm,
So, but what an experience! Again, it's part of that motocross life. You get to meet so many people. I got many, many great friends in, a lot of countries around the world, Japan being one of them. We just went to Silverstone a few weeks ago to watch MotoGP. My good friends, engineers from the MotoGP team invited us and treated us like kings. I took my son, my 20-year-old son, Carter, and
I know, yeah.
wonderful time. So, all that kind of stuff, you kind of walk in those shoes long enough and put in the hard work, and yeah, there's lots of people that are willing to extend the gratitude back.
Is Carter, is he riding, Doug?
So Carter is we like to call him the part-timer. So he is, it's funny, Racer X just did an article on him. I say just, it was like a month ago, but I literally just read it 2 nights ago. I finally
Okay,
got a book because I was here for like 5 weeks
ages,
and
yeah.
then went home for about 7 days and then came straight back. So I managed to pick up a magazine and I just read it the other night. But so he is flying airplanes. That's kind of his passion. He wants to be a pilot,
Nice,
commercial airline pilot. He
nice.
is instrument rated, commercial rated, all that.
Mm,
And so Racer X did an article because he came to me, kind of the middle of summer, said, Dad, I want to ride the first 3 outdoor nationals. And I said, okay. Never ridden a national or anything like that. We'd
mm,
done the little Lorettas and Mammoth and stuff, but
mm,
I knew he had the speed, but he's just too involved, he's full time college student, all that. So
mm.
off we went. So in doing those races, just kind of through conversation, press day and whatnot, they ended up doing a really nice article on him about his passion of flying. So that's kind of so
That's
he's
cool.
more of a pilot than he is a motocross racer, even though he did well. I mean, I
Yeah,
think his best moto was a 25th, which isn't bad considering that 250 class is pretty stacked.
yeah. I was just about to say that's stacked, isn't it? You get
Yeah. So,
when you're
but
doing.
yeah, so that's what Carter's doing. He's a
Mm,
college
nice.
student, pilot, and Yeah.
Sounds like you must be proud of him then.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great, you know, because I was never a dad that wanted to push my kid to race. You know, I
Mm,
always gave him every opportunity he wanted. You know, there's always a bike available to him. I went to plenty of races, so he had plenty of opportunity to race, but he just was lukewarm about it, which, you know, in one sense, it was frustrating for me because he was such a good rider. You know,
mm,
he just developed a very good skill. You know, I'd
mhm.
like to say it was all me, but, you know, they learned so much on their own. But, you know, and he was always within earshot through the 4,000 motocross schools I made him sit through. So I'm sure
Yeah,
he
yeah,
might have listened to something along the way. But yeah, he's
yeah,
just a really good rider. But yeah, just didn't quite have that, you know, the win or die sort of attitude, which unfortunately it kind of takes to be at the top of that game or make any money at it at least.
yeah, for sure. I've got Tony here, Tony Shaler, I think that is pronounced. He put, do you think they should bring back two strokes racing into the MX1 and MX2 series? I personally think two strokes sounds fantastic, combined with the smell of Castro R. I would love a bit of Castro R, old school.
Yeah, yeah, you know, I've joked and talked, and anyone that'll listen to me that I think it would be great. And you know, the AMA did it a little bit at home, and actually, my son Carter got to ride a few. They called it like an all-star race
Yeah,
during the nationals, which
yeah,
was good. You know, you got some of the top amateur guys, and you put them all on 125s. Everyone loves to hear a 125. I mean, there's no
yeah,
arguing that.
yeah,
And it was pretty neat, but it only lasted. I think they did it 2 years, and it's quit. But I would love to see it because I think you know you've got your newer fans for sure, but there's a lot of old school people I think that would enjoy that. You know, so the other side of that is you get a bunch of old guys like me, but you don't want to see us the speed we ride these days. So it would be better to have the young guys on it. But yeah, just to see, you know, if you could magically get that time machine and put all of us back to like our fast days and throw us all on 125s, I think that'd be worth watching.
Oh yeah, that would be two strokes. Yes, very good. I did some commentary in the UK and they did a 125 class at the weekend. Oh, love it. Absolutely love it. Absolutely
Yeah,
love it.
because the racing's so close.
Yeah, exactly that.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, you look at, I don't know, I guess a little bit in the GPs, but in America, 250F class is way more exciting to watch.
Mm,
You know, because it's a little more even across,
mm,
you know, from first to 20th. Or 450, you know, you got one guy checking out, or maybe two guys. You know, it's just because
it's not, yeah.
250F, you can come closer to riding the bike to its maximum, which is what you can do on a 125.
Mm,
So it's just, you know, it's like, what do they call that? Like NASCAR, where it's like a production rule racing. So everyone's a little more, you know, on the similar equipment.
yeah, on the same sort of, yeah. Like you
Yeah,
said, 450s. Do you ever ride them to a maximum?
yeah. Yeah. We all think we can, but
Yeah,
there's only
they're
a
crazy.
couple that really can.
Yeah, they're crazy. I got Simon Cavini here. I presume he's from Italy. He's just put, Doug, do you remember the race in Carfi, Italy, 94 Supercross kind of track?
And
Yeah,
oh, Carpe, yes.
Carfi,
Yeah,
yeah.
we were just talking about that.
Mm,
So I went twice and they kind of had some mixed. I think the first year, everything went pretty well. I think I got in there and kind of battled around and had some real fun. The second year, I don't know why I had the craziest things happen to me. There was a big giant double, which I remember distinctively. I mean, it was a massive jump,
was it?
and one of the that was a qualifier, maybe first night main event or something. I hit this big jump, which I was kind of nervous about anyway. And right when I landed, the bike shut off. No harm, no foul. I didn't crash, but the spark plug broke, like the porcelain part. And it's kind of one of those things you lay in bed at night thinking, man, if that would have happened about 4 seconds earlier, that could have been bad. But
Yeah,
no, I
yeah,
remember Carpe. Yeah, those were the funny side note. The hotel we stayed in, no air conditioning, and it was very hot. So I think I laid in bed half the night sweating. So they got us a fan, a little
yeah.
electric fan for the second night. So that was pretty good. But
That's
no, I remember it very well. I had a lot of fun on that trip.
that's brilliant. I just got. I was just looking, trying to look on my phone so I could see their names because some of them don't. it's a privacy thing, but he's just put it's a Franco Ripper. He's just put great Doug on Sunday in Miura. How do you pronounce that? I do know it. I know the track and everything. But I
What,
don't.
Majora?
Majora, that's it.
Yeah, Majora.
You set the gas on fire. But that's a spectacular track as well, isn't it, Doug? Do you enjoy that track? It's like got bits that are a little bit like still a
Yeah,
little bit.
it's a challenging track. It's fairly small. I'm
Mm,
going to go back this weekend to watch the GP, so I'm
mm,
curious how it's going to play out with a full gate of fast guys on it because it's only. I mean, we were doing under 2 minute lap time, so I'm sure they'll be, 10, 15 seconds faster than that. So yeah, a minute 45, or you're going to be into lap traffic quick and whatnot. But very picturesque and
mm,
yeah, just a neat overall racetrack. So I can't wait because I've seen all the videos of the Johnny O'Mara, Dave Thorpe,
mm.
Bailey Johnson, all that. And so
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it with a full hillside of people. So
Oh, yeah.
I am really looking forward to it. But yeah, I did enjoy the racetrack. I rode it last year, and it was a little bit of more of a goof around race. We were just out there more putting on a show than racing. This year, I really did enjoy it. It was full gate drop and race for me anyway. I think Carioli
Yeah, really.
and oh, why am I drawing a blank for his French counterpart there that was racing around with
Oh,
him?
so was it?
Porcel.
So yeah.
Porcel. Yeah, they were kind of goofing, and I think Mike Brown got in there and goofed, but I was fighting for my life back there at about sixth or seventh with a bunch of 20-year-olds that,
Yeah.
apparently if you got Dubach on your back, it's just as well as having a target.
Oh, this is brilliant. I got a UK team owner, Ultimate Wheels Honda team. He was there with a great setup as well at Fox Hill. He just put, I've seen him more this year than I've seen my wife.
No, don't tell your wife or mine that because they
Yeah,
might get a little suspicious. I know. I can't believe, again, back on the subject of Dubach racing, having a little more freedom. But yeah, I cannot believe how much time I've spent in,
yeah,
across the pond, as they say,
yeah,
this year.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, and then I'm, going to be back for Ernay. And yeah, I'm just going to become a resident. I just got to
I was
pick a
gonna
country. I got to
say,
pick a
yes,
country that I want to hold a passport with.
that's it, that's it.
I hear Belgium's easy to get a passport. Maybe I'll hold one of those.
Yeah, yeah. You can do plenty of sand tracking over there as well. This is a good one as well. Lee's just put, didn't actually have that done, so that's a good one. Lee's put, Doug, is there a team that you would have loved to have raced for but never got the chance to? Interesting.
Well,
Mm,
there's a little story there that might kind of reflect on that question. I had actually, at the end of 1989, no, end of 1990, I signed a letter of intent for Honda. So I would have basically been like Stanton and Bale. I would have been on that team, and I'd love to say they wanted me because I was so fast and good looking, but I think they were looking for my testing abilities, and but it was the thing that never was. Um, I was unhappy with a few things that were going on at Yamaha at that time. I was promised that those things would be fixed, which they
okay.
never actually were, but
Yeah.
I ended up having to call Dave Arnold at Factory Honda and say thank you, but no thank you. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about that really. I
Mm,
think everyone in that era, everyone just wanted to be on Factory Honda because that just seemed like the place you had to be.
yeah.
And so yeah, you never know what people say. One little event of your life can change it immensely. So maybe staying at Yamaha did, but again, I have no regrets. I
Mm,
think I've had a lot of great opportunities and probably wouldn't change any of it.
beautiful.
There's a classic. Okay, so for the if Dave King's still listening,
Yeah.
Dave, I'll buy you 2 tickets to Glen Helen World Vet if you can name where that photo was taken.
Mm. I hope he is still on now you've said that.
Yeah,
That'd be
that's just
cool.
2 tickets in the front gate. That's not like the flight and all expenses getting over there.
Yeah, I think it's an all-in thing.
Yeah, yeah, there's a big difference there.
Yeah. Cool. That's
So,
brilliant.
without wasting a lot of time and having to play the game show music, that is a famous portion of a famous racetrack, Webco Hill at Saddleback Park.
Ah,
You can see how hard the dirt is. There's no berms,
no, I
no
was
ruts. That's just
gonna say there ain't nothing.
hard packed dirt.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was so. There's another interesting story. This was my short time on Suzuki. I was having lots of trouble braking my Yamahas, and I rode a buddy of mine's 81 RM 125, which was anyone from that era knows that that was like cheating. That bike was a little bit ahead of every other brand at that moment.
yeah.
And so I I went and bought one used Suzuki and raced it for almost 2 years
Wow.
because I was a pretty poor kid back in those days. But that's the original bike I bought for
Yeah.
$555 used from Anaheim Suzuki.
No way.
And I went on. It's funny, just a weird side note. I used to keep a little piece of paper in a notebook, every race that I did, and what place I got, and how much money. And it was just like these little entries, like the smallest font you can imagine. And it must have been 150 entries on there after year and a half time, because back then you could race 3 or 4 times a week. There was 3 nights of night racing,
Yeah.
Saddleback Saturday, and then you would go look in Cycle News for whatever purse money was being thrown around on any given 4 different tracks on Sunday. So you could rack up a lot of races in a year's time back then.
Nice. Paul's just said, I caught up with Doug at the Somerset Scramble Club at Shard and had a chat with him. So Paul said he had a chat with you there.
Yeah, yeah. That was the grass track event, right? Just a few
Yeah.
weeks ago. It's what I'm
Yeah.
assuming. And yeah, that was what a neat event. We don't get to do stuff like that in
Mm,
America anymore. Unadilla was the last true grass track I think I rode.
yeah.
And yeah, I tried to kill this guy's Mako that he loaned me. And, I was nice enough to give it back before I completely destroyed it. But
Yeah.
he, so it, I blame him. He didn't tell me it had 9 speeds, first neutral, second neutral, third neutral. Yeah, so it had neutral between every gear, and I just after a while, I thought I'm going to kill this thing. So, but yeah, again, ran into some great people, just out there for all the right reasons.
Yeah.
And what a track! I took a photo of this green grass hill before practice, and then another photo after practice. This nice brown racetrack all carved in it. What a great day!
So it looks as well as Shane just put, just for fun, where's my aluminium exhaust stickers to make my DRD look trick?
I got those right here in my back pocket. So yeah, just post the address. I'll get them sent right out. No, if you yeah, just contact our company. We'll get those sent out to you.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Adam Winslet, my buddy. He's you might have. I don't know if you've heard of the track because he's part. He's still sort of involved with the track now. It's called the Fox and Hounds in Newbury in the UK, and it used to be GPs back in the 70s and 60s. Was it Adam? But yeah, he's got a cool. It's all natural grass track anyway. But anyway, he's just put how good was Mark Barnett?
Ooh, that could take me a while. Well, okay, I'll stick to just my favorite Mark Barnett story.
Uh-huh.
My very first attempt at qualifying for a national, 1983. I went to Hangtown
Yeah.
and super muddy day. Ended up stuck under a snow fence and didn't get out from under it by the time they ran the last chance race. So, needless to say, I didn't qualify. But watching that race, Mark Barnett leading the second moto by at least 20 seconds, maybe more. And that's when they were 40 minutes still. So it was probably 41st minute.
Mhm.
And he comes down the roughest downhill because it was muddy all in the morning, like his life depended on it to make a last lap pass. And at that moment, I thought, holy cow, that is one badass dude. And I mean, I can go on about 100 other Barnett stories, but for someone to have that big of a lead and be stretching the cable that hard on the last lap of the second moto, man, that boy had focus and determination like nobody's business. And I still see him around. He drives one of the bulldozers and builds a lot of the national tracks and that.
Oh, right.
I
Is it?
saw him a couple years ago, and good dude. Again, still in the sport, just happy as could be. When you go up and, oh, Mark, how you doing? Oh, you tell an old story, and he's just shy and he hardly wants to. Oh yeah, oh thanks. Just a good humble guy. So.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
but
cool.
yeah, he another Mark Barnett story. I had really good seats for, I think it was LA Coliseum. I was watching. I wasn't racing Supercross yet, and I was a Scott Boot guy, which we all know how horrifying those things were. And I remember watching how good he was on the brakes. He'd come down the peristyle into this kind of slippery corner, and he had probably Fox boots or some leather boot. Got rid of my Scott boots the next day. I'm like, there's no way I could have that kind of control with a big plastic
Yeah.
freaking whatever those things, like gladiator boots.
Yeah.
I still curse Bob Hanna when I see him that he sucked me into wearing those things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at least Mr. Barnett's got you turned back over to
Yeah,
the.
yeah, yeah. Mark saved my life.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, this is interesting. Tony Shaler just put, would you consider doing the most challenging off-road event in the UK, the Western Beach Race?
Ooh, now that sounds pretty interesting. Is there a class for an 84-year-old man like me? Um, so I've always kicked myself in the pants. I had a chance to go do La Touquet in France
Oh, yeah,
many,
yeah.
many, many years ago, and I had an injury and I couldn't go. And my friend went and said it was the best race he had ever done. So since that day, I've always wanted to do a beach race. So is this an official invitation here? And is there a class for a guy that's almost 90?
I know the man who runs it. So yeah,
What date is it usually run on?
it's normally in October, but I think it's earlier this year. It's actually the same weekend, unfortunately, as the Matterley this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I think the British GP got brought back a week, so unfortunately it clashed with it. But it normally was in October, but it's been
Well,
earlier
I'll
this year.
probably have a Belgian passport by then and just
Yeah,
living
yeah,
over here. So yeah, hit me
yeah, yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would love to ride the race. Not sure I'd want to be in the middle of the 800 people, but
Pull a
I've
few,
done worse things.
pull a few favors, and you'll be at the, at the front for that. Get
That
away
sounds
down.
like fun. I'll just leave it at that. It sounds like
Yeah,
fun.
yeah,
Hit me
yeah,
up. I'll make that decision later.
yeah. I'll message the man that runs that and say I know a man that would be cool to bring there. It's a nice.
Oh,
Oh,
look at that. See, that's my 84 bike. So that was my rookie year on the Nationals. But since I was, a poor boy scraping together every nickel and dime, I raced all the CMC points races and became basically, I was California state champ in that same year. So that's my 84 RM 125, my proud number one after winning the California state championship, basically.
nice. Look at that bike.
Give you another small detail. Paul Theed of Race Tech, that's in
Yeah.
front of his shop. He helped me with that bike. He was the magician to get those bikes running.
Yeah. Get them 125s running just right.
And you got to love that jacket. I don't even know where I got that, but that's a pretty sweet looking jacket.
I like that. Look like a young Sylvester Stallone there. I thought it was the Italian stallion there.
Yeah, yeah. I think I've been called the Italian stallion there with that in that photo before. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I
You
like
hit the nail on the head with that comment.
about race numbers, Doug. Did you actually have a favourite? I know, obviously, things were decided on where you finished in seasons and all that sort of stuff. But did you have a favourite race number that you loved on your race bikes and that
So
more special for a reason?
15 is obviously the one I ride with mostly now, and That was the number I was racing that night in San Jose when I won.
Wrong one.
And it happened to be on June 15th as well.
All right.
It
Okay.
just kind of, that stuck with me a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
And, number 12, that first one you flashed up, number 12 was a good one.
Yeah.
That
That was my
was 92. That was the year after I was number 15. And so I did like 12, but yeah, 15 just kind of ended up sticking around.
Yeah.
And it's funny, there's a lot of little things, weirdos like me can play a lot of head games. I think
Okay.
that was practice at San Jose. That picture there, that was
That's
practice at San Jose the night I won. But you can play around with all numbers in your head to make sense out of them all. And
yeah.
15 is come around circle after circle. So that's kind of why I stick with it now.
Yeah. I think you're very well known for the 15. I've got a few nice pictures.
Well,
I
kind
saw,
of looked like I cased that jump.
yeah, doesn't it? I got a couple of nice pictures of where was the other one I've got with looks a bit. Here we go.
Oh yeah, 14. That was my last year on the race team. I liked 14 too. Yeah,
Mm,
14 was a good number. But so back then, yeah, you got a new number every year by where you finished. So I was always right around that because they combined everyone, 125 and 250 and Supercross.
yeah.
So being about that, fifth, sixth place guy, you would end up with right around that, 12, 13, 14, 15, because nobody runs 13. They offered it to me once, and
Okay.
I, I think I declined when, but yeah, so I was always right around there, that my best number ever was 7. But yeah, I was 12, 13, 14, or not 13, but 12, 14, 15, 16. And yeah, that was Southwick that year. Yeah, I think I led that race for a while. Number 7 there with the red jersey. It's probably, if you look closely, probably looks like the moths got to it. We used to have to cut circles out of our jerseys because they were just 100% cotton back then. So it was like wearing a
Yeah.
sweatshirt.
Mm, yeah. I remember you guys used to do the cutting of the shirts and all that. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
that was before all the modern materials they have nowadays. That was an O'Neill ad there. That number 7 doing a start.
Love that. Just what the doctor ordered.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I used to love all those advertisements in the magazines, all you guys with your gear and the helmets, and so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. See that shot? That's Oklahoma Supercross. You can ask anyone. That was the hottest day in the world, and we're riding a daytime Supercross. It was miserable.
This is really bad.
Yeah, thank God I crashed like halfway through the main event and knocked myself out. That way I didn't have to endure the whole 20 laps.
That's classic. Oh dear. Yeah, there's the holes that we got to get them
Yeah,
holes
there
in.
you go. I think that's Southwick again. Looks
Yeah,
like.
the proper sun.
Yeah. Oh, my trusty mechanic Steve Butler, who is now my boss at Yamaha. He's the head
Yeah. All
of the
right.
testing department.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he started out. He came from Australia
Yep.
he thought he was going to be a racer. Then he quickly realized that he was going to make more money as a mechanic. So he was my mechanic for years, and then Yamaha hired him on. He was Emmig's mechanic when Emmig won his 125 title.
All right.
He
Yeah.
went on to mechanic for many guys, Ezra Lusk and Bradshaw. And yeah, I mean, good dude,
Yeah.
smart guy. Yeah, there's old number 7. That's you can't see those gloves, but I know looking at that kidney belt, the gloves that O'Neill had in that era, we used
Yeah.
to call them oven mitts because they were like so thick you could freaking pick up something on fire and you'd be fine.
Oh, was that bike good, Doug, as well?
Yeah, yeah, that was a really good bike. Yeah, because that was very similar to yeah what my 91 and 92 were. So yeah, that was a great bike. That engine was outstanding. We had those bikes working good. Oh, and that You know, it's funny. I just sent that because Steve Butler was my mechanic that year. That was San Diego Supercross.
Yeah.
And they had this tricky little section. And as the night comes, the moisture comes up. And
Yeah.
that was like, I don't know, maybe third or fourth lap of the main event. And it's funny, if you watch the television broadcast, Jeff Ward did the exact same thing, but he didn't get quite as much hang time as I did. I did better.
Yeah.
But I just sent that to my mechanic, I don't know, probably
Did you?
2 or 3 weeks ago. And I said,
Wow.
no respect for the mechanic
No.
because that bike was destroyed. It was
Yeah, I bet.
perfect right there.
Yeah.
Because apparently it was fine. I just ejected off the back of it. But yeah, that was not good. It was just kind of stepped out on me and then gripped some of that was not the main line, that was a little grippier off main line, and it just hooked up. And another thing, if you looked at some of those other pictures, you noticed our seat was a funny color. Well,
Mm.
this was back before you could get a funny color actual seat material. So Keith McCarty, our fearless team manager, painted our seats. So our seats were like freaking like somebody put oil on them. And that was part of what, because this was only like the third race of the season, we were taking sandpaper and roughing the things up after a
Yeah.
while. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm blaming it on the seat. That couldn't have been
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
mistake.
I like that. Blame on the seat.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I'm not sure I wouldn't fancy a painted seat. No, definitely not.
Yeah. So now you're going back, I think 29, that was 87.
Mm.
Yeah. that's probably a Las Vegas, I think that race was. Las Vegas did a national, which was ridiculous because they did it on a little amateur track. But I think something happened to where some other round got canceled. But yeah, that was a goofy race. Las Vegas National. Oh, there you go. That's Unadilla. That was
Mm. Probably red.
that might have been the first GP I ever rode. I think that was 88. Yeah, that was a great experience. First time on a real grass track. Actually, I think I went 87 as well. I think that was 88. Maybe that was the second time I went. But yeah, racing against all these, GP guys that you didn't know who they were and what their strengths and weaknesses, and they did pretty good. I think I was sixth, which I was pretty happy because I was still kind of a privateer at that point,
Yeah,
just getting a few little parts out of Yamaha. So yeah, that was a good day. I still have
super.
that. I still have that 41 front number plate.
Do you?
Yeah, with the green
Oh,
on it. Yeah, my mechanic Butler gave it to me probably a long time ago, probably 20 years ago. He said, "I was hanging around in my garage. Do you want it?" And I'm like, "Well, heck yeah."
yeah, that's cool. I was going to ask you that. Have you got any bikes, any gear? What about helmets?
Yeah, I got a couple little oddball things, but yeah, I'm not a guy that kept all his
Yeah.
helmets or
No?
any of that kind of stuff. And yeah, I don't have any bikes. I wish I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got little. You know what I ran into? I was looking through some stuff the other day. Um, those original stickers that we had, I think it must have been around 89, 90, where we had our name. It was kind of in cursive writing, but our name on our front fenders.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
remember.
ran into some of those original stickers. I still had them.
No
So
way.
those things are only 40 years old.
Yeah, I remember that. Has it got any of these on the pictures of some of these? Because I
Yeah,
remember that.
it would probably be on the number 7 bike,
Yeah, I remember.
or maybe even the number 16 bike. Yeah, it was right around that time. 7
Mm,
bike, or maybe even the 50. Yeah, I don't know, somewhere right around. But if you see that,
I
and I
did see it.
remember, so
I
I
knew
was
him.
an O'Neill guy, and Axo made those for us, so I had to get a Sharpie and color in the Axo on the stickers.
Oh,
Silly, silly, but I just
yeah,
remember that detail. See, I'm 100 years old, but I still remember some detail.
I like the details.
Yeah, see, now that you can see that's the sun setting in Las Vegas for that race.
Oh,
Yeah, that's where
starting
they
to
had
get
the
dark.
national in Vegas. Yeah.
Starting to get dark there as well.
So now there's a bit of trivia that
Yeah,
I could probably put up $1 million
Yeah.
and nobody would be able to figure out what's wrong with that trading card right there.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
I know the suspense is killing you, so let me just spill the beans. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's not me. That's a South African guy named Gary Butcher, because you can tell he's got a rye helmet.
Oh, yeah,
He was
yeah. I can see
always a
that.
showy guy. So
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I looked at that and I'm like, what am I doing with an Arai on? I've never worn an Arai, but
Wow.
that was my bike. He borrowed one day. I think his bike broke and I let him race. I can't remember the detail of the bike and all that. But
Yeah.
yeah, he had O'Neill gear and that, and they used that for my trading card that year.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad I didn't have that one anyway.
Yeah, no one in the entire world would have got that. I could have put $10 million up. No one would have got. Well, Gary Butcher would have called in because he's about the only guy that knew that that was him and not me.
Paul Andrews just put, can you ask Doug what area of California he grew up in and what age did he start racing?
So I grew up Southern California, Anaheim, which is kind of by Disneyland. If everyone knows where Disneyland is in Southern California, I still live. I live in Tustin, which is the city right next to it. So I've been pretty much in that area my whole life.
Yeah.
And I started racing late by everyone's standards. My first race again, the 15th. I raced the May 15th.
No way.
Yeah, back in '78. I think it was May. It was. I just remember it was the 15th, and so I was. It was just a month before my 15th birthday. I was 14 on my first race, but so most kids were racing at 6, 7 years old back then, and I didn't have any money, so I would race every other month. Just whenever my brother would take me racing. So I just raced a little bit here or there, and it wasn't until I kind of got my own driver's license or permit that I got to go more on my own. But I did come through fast because I was eager to make a paycheck. So I went from that very first race, 80cc novice, to 125 pro. Signed up my first pro race in 18 months.
Wow. But yeah.
So that was kind of a fast progression, especially
Yeah.
for not racing like every weekend. But
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
back then, when you got off of an 85, if you were an expert, which I was, you couldn't drop down any further. So I had to race intermediate or B class.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I was so nervous, but I ended up winning, I think, every B race I ever entered. So I raced B class for about 4 months and said, just one day went to Saddleback and I just signed up in pro class. I'm like, because I can get money. And so, and it was funny. I ended up winning my first pro race, but it wasn't pretty. There's the whole nother story to that. I forgot all my gear at home because I was so
Oh, no, I
nervous.
read about this. Yeah. Is that when you had jeans on or something? Or was
Yeah,
it?
I had jeans on in practice. So, and this was the source of my nightmares that haunted me for probably, well, still till the other night. Um,
Yeah.
I had just nightmare after nightmare of missing the start because that's exactly what I did. I'm buckling my boots up as I hear the gate drop, and I run, get on my bike. I'm half a lap behind. There's only 4 pros that day. It's a very small race. And I beat one guy. I'm not sure how, whether I passed him or he didn't finish. But so I got third. And then second moto, I just went ahead and went when the gate dropped, just kind of a novel idea. And
Yeah.
and I kind of battled with this other guy. That was a pretty good local pro, but I won. So I went 3-1. And the guy that won the first moto had a bike problem. So he didn't finish. So the other guy that I beat went 2-2. And so I won with a 3-1 and made $45.
Beautiful. Gotta
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that. I
gotta
love
love
that.
that.
You gotta
Risk your
start.
life for
Yeah.
$45. Probably cost me 40, to get in the front gate and sign up and all that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I knew motocross was going to be a big moneymaker from that day on.
Yeah. Five profit. I bet you were buzzing over that as well, actually, weren't you?
Oh, that was pretty exciting, but
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
it didn't make it in Western Hotline Cyclers though. That was too small of a race, but
I've got a
can't
nice,
recall.
nice picture.
There you go. I think that was on the WR.
Looks
Yeah, I
like
think
it.
that's another one of them good starts. I think that was Troy, Ohio.
Yeah.
Which,
Oh, yeah.
if you had
Yeah.
to ask me a track that I really didn't care for that much,
What's
that
that one?
was Well, so get this. I know somebody just did it recently. The only other guy I've heard of, I think it was Joe Shimoda about 2 months ago, went 3-3 for fourth overall. That's what I did that day.
Wow.
I went, not that day, but at that track. This was on a
Yeah,
500. But the
yeah,
day that I went 3-3 for fourth was on a 250. And
yeah. Yeah.
if I, so Jeff Matasevich finished about 20 bike lengths ahead of me.
Yeah.
He won the overall with a 2-2, and I got fourth overall with a 3-3.
That's a weird one, isn't it?
So, yeah,
That's a weird one.
talk about being on the wrong end of the scale. That was a good old track there. Delmont, PA. The funniest part about that, they had a big giant sign at the front entrance when you came in, and it said motor cross racing, MOTOR
Oh, did it?
CRO. Yeah, so motor. And you remember Mike Jones, the famous
Yeah,
Mike
yeah,
Jones?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so his wife's family ran that, and we used to give him a hard time. We're like, "Who painted that sign, Mike?"
Yeah, rub that one in. Got
Yeah,
that must have been a nice one when he was a bit younger, just a bit
yeah,
younger.
yeah. Talk about younger. That's my kid that's now over
Yeah, I
6 foot tall. So
was
yeah,
gonna say, yeah, it's funny odd. I gather he was a teenager there or something, maybe even younger than that, I suppose.
yeah, he's probably maybe 13 or so there, but yeah, he's 20 and much taller than that. I think that
Yeah,
was an O'Neill ad or something we did. Yeah, I
yeah.
can't remember what that was, but
There we go.
yeah. Oh, there you go. And lots of stories. So we all raced Axton, Virginia, again, blistering hot.
Mhm.
And then they threw us in an airplane, flew us to Las Vegas, put us in a rental van, and drove 3 hours into the desert to go shoot that photo.
Brilliant.
So and we were supposed to look mean in that. What the real look was, we were all pissed off because
Yeah, had
none of
enough.
us wanted to be there.
Yeah, yeah. I've not had enough of all that.
Yeah,
Chewy one.
yeah, good old showy one. That that was a good showy story. And I remember my first showy contract. Thought I was killing it. Yeah, won't even bother with the number, but I'm like, man, this is great. I'm like, felt like the biggest guy in the world. Then they told me how much Jeff Ward was making, which was like double what I was, and then
Yeah.
that was a hard enough blow. Then they told me what Eddie Lawson made, and then that made me
Oh,
feel like quitting motocross and starting road racing.
yeah, I bet. I love this advert as well. This was a cool one. I love the Scott one like that as well. That
Yeah,
was good.
that was another great Troy Lee paint job. Yeah, that the way that tear off was. Yeah, that was a good ad. And good old Bevo. We all know who Bevo was from the old Scott days. Yeah, he's. I was going to bore you with a long story, but no, just I'll leave it at that.
Bore us with it. Bore us with it, Doug. We want to hear that.
Well, okay, so back in the kind of must have been in the mid '80s.
Yeah.
Smith Goggle came in and decided they were going to take over everyone that wasn't really being paid or paid well, and they
Yeah.
offered $1,000 to any basic privateer that was riding the Nationals. 98% of them took it. I was the only guy that didn't take it. I
Did
said,
you?
"No, Bevo, I like you. You do a good job for me. You're always helpful. I'll stick around." And so he still tells this story. He told this story at Loretta Lynn's only about 3 or 4 years ago, and this is, a 40-year-old story. And he
Yeah,
goes, "And I told Doug that day, I might not pay you the most, but I'll pay you the longest." And freaking, I got Scott Goggle money for a very long time
yeah.
until he left and went to 100%. Then I
Ah,
followed him over there.
all right. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
They're nice.
That's
Yeah.
something to be said. Loyalty in this game is not very
Hmm.
well achieved. So yeah, be loyal to your sponsors. They'll take care of you. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
like 100 years old and I still get very treated very well in this industry.
I used to love all the everyone from the UK. We always used to have the glossy mags and obviously and see all you guys with all them spray jobs and everything. It's just super cool.
Yeah,
Well, we
yeah.
all wanted one of them.
So that you see that DG sticker on my visor. Do you remember that company, DG?
Is that the shoe? Is that the shoes and all?
No, no, no. So
DG.
DG was the first, one of the early hop up companies back, gosh, in the 70s. And by this time, this was 91. They were kind of grasping at straws, trying to, remain somebody in the industry. And so they wanted me to run their pipe
All
and their
right.
and their stand to set my bike on.
All
So
right.
I ran the stand and I put DG on my pro circuit pipe or whatever, but I got paid. It was another nice payday on that San Jose evening when I
Yes.
won
Oh,
because I
right.
had lots of those little companies. And that's the only way I got away with it because if I was on the factory team, I couldn't have run DG. But they said, since we're not paying you a salary, you can go collect money wherever you want.
Is this the right one?
Oh, that's a classic.
Oh,
Number 53. So that was 1986, right when we were bouncing back and forth. The only reason I had an open face because Wardy still wore one.
yeah, whichever one.
Yeah.
He
Because
loved
he
them
was
as well.
a showy guy and I was a showy guy. That was the last open face helmet I ever wore.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
cool.
that was. I wish I still had that actually. Oh, wow. There's some characters there.
That Voland on the end. Is that
Yeah,
Tyson?
that's
Tyson
yeah,
Voland?
Tyson Boland. I'm trying to think. That was some autograph day before a Supercross somewhere, maybe North County Yamaha before San Diego Supercross or something. Yeah,
Because
he
I
did.
obviously, yeah, I see Damon on the end, isn't it?
Yeah,
Who's
yeah.
who's that in the middle then? With you? Don't know who that
Oh,
is.
gosh, is
Hmm.
that could have been like Tommy Clowers maybe because
I
he
remember
was
his
on
name.
that same team
Remember his name.
with Tyson Volan. Yeah, Clowers became kind of a freestyle guy.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Let me take a good look and see. Yeah, that's who it was. Tommy Clowers.
Right. Okay. I definitely remember him.
Yeah. Huh. Mammoth. That was always a fun race.
I say that's a track, isn't it?
Yeah, Mammoth. That was good times. I was one of the few factory guys that would go there. It was our off weekend.
Mm.
And yeah, another silly trivia because I'm full of it. The only reason the AMA calendar had that weekend off is because it was Roy Jansen's birthday. And you know how I know that?
Yeah.
Because he and I share the same birthday.
All right. Love
He
that.
just reminded me, or I reminded him of that,
Yeah. Yeah.
just at the first national of the year this year, because my kid was racing and we were
Yeah.
kind of talking and joking about that.
Yeah.
And I said, reminded him that, I was the only guy that went racing on that off weekend.
That's brilliant.
And he goes, that's because we share a birthday. And I'm like, no, that's the only reason I remember it is because you told me that. Oh, look at that, Stanton to Hoop.
Yeah. Did you? Yeah.
Hmm.
I spoke to Stanton. I haven't spoken to Hoop yet, so I'd have to try and get it. Speak to him. I remember that tough team and all that. Did you
Yeah,
get on?
yeah,
With
that team was
Stanton? Did you
pretty
get on with
good.
them guys?
What's
Stanton.
that?
Did you get on with them guys to Hoop? Stanton.
Yeah, no problems. Stanton was always just, just he was Jeff Stanton. He was so serious and focused. He didn't,
Then yeah.
wasn't quite, because he was on Yamaha there for a couple of years, and then on Honda, he kind of fell into all that success. Not that he wouldn't have had it, but with Ricky's injury and all that. So I don't know. He was a little too cool for us for a while, but no, I still see him here or there.
Yeah.
And yeah, the hoop, yeah, he raced some of those hundreds with us and stuff for a while.
Like
Yeah, that was just at our Supercross track at De Anza, goofing around one day. I think
this was
somebody made that into a T-shirt. I remember I had a T-shirt with that on the back of it at one point.
I love the t-shirts. They try to do them all again now, don't they? Like because everyone loves the retro t-shirts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Got
Yeah, you did go deep, digging pretty deep. A lot of the stuff I
yeah,
haven't seen in a long time.
yeah. See, that's cool. I did do some digging. I like
Yeah.
to check it all, and then there was some. I went online, and there was some photographers saying that their favourite photos of you, and so I was scanning through all them, and it's
So
a bit
that
late.
one there, if you kind of scroll way into the visor,
Yeah.
there's team associated on that visor, which is remote control car track. I was actually a full sponsored RC car driver for a while,
Wow.
so
No
it
way.
was quite fun. I got into it because Cliff Lett, who was Ricky Johnson's mechanic the year Ricky won the title in '85, is that when Ricky? Yeah, no, '84. Ricky won it in '84. Ran the number one in '85. But anyway, his mechanic at the time was a really good, like world class RC driver. Ended up going to work for Associated. He became the president. He just recently retired from that company, but he helped me because I just knew him and all that. And I remember I had a knee surgery and couldn't do anything. So he's like, here, it'd be a good time for you to get cars. And so, yeah, he kind of hooked me all up. And yeah, I felt like a factory guy, even though, yeah, I wasn't, wasn't a factory guy speed on the cars. But yeah, so that was a funny little side sponsor.
That was nice to get that then as well. So different.
Yeah. And I still do. I'm still a junkie. Me and my kid, we got tons and tons of RC stuff.
Oh, you still like all that? I used to have a little go at that as well. At one point, I had a Hornet or something like that. It was called back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but
I think that, yeah, I think that might be Kehoe or Craig or somebody in front of me, but
yeah, I reckon
I think that was just some outdoor national, maybe Hangtown or something. I forget.
it was that on that Troy team.
Yeah,
You like the 12? 'Cause that was my race number, number 12. So I like your number 12 ones.
yeah, yeah. So again, that's when we didn't ride 500 class. We rode
Yeah.
the first six, which were 250, and then dropped down and rode 125s, and it was good. I enjoyed it. Kind of get in there and mix around with the younger guys. So that was '92. So I was 29 years old, a little old for the 125 class by those standards in those days.
This is a cool picture. I think this is the one I've got in the background.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the Buckley berm, the famous berm at Southwick.
I love that. Proper.
Yeah, yeah, you could blow that thing up, that
Yeah,
berm. I'm sure I had holes cut in my jersey there too.
I bet. I think the photographers like that corner. I would certainly like to be taking pictures on that corner, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Another one of those painted seats,
Oh, is that what
orange,
that was? Wow.
an orange painted seat. But by that time, yeah, we had sandpaper to them. We had figured it out.
Yeah, you've got that straight on there.
Yeah.
So obviously, as well, Doug, what was the year that you actually finished the professional side of the racing?
So '93, when I was number 14, that was my last year on the factory team,
Yeah.
and then I went on because I was always fit, just because I did so much testing during the week, and I
Yeah.
like that 28 picture. That was '95, I think. Yeah, I think that was '95. But anyway, so all through kind of the '90s, I would just hit various races here or there, depending. I had a shop, that same one that I said that team associated. If you look at the front fender, BSY was a shop in Florida that would bring me a bike to, Daytona Supercross and Orlando Supercross, Gainesville National. So I kind of had some people that would, drag bikes around for me just because I still enjoyed racing. And then when I got all involved with the YZ400 and that, I just was too busy to race. So I didn't race for a couple of years, like any nationals or anything. And then in 2001, I said, you know what? I was 38 years old, and I'm like, I'm getting pretty old to, be jumping in, but I wanted to ride the Yamaha 250F because I'd done so much work on that bike. So I borrowed a bike
Okay.
from a friend at Washougal and went out and went like 712 that day at 38 years old in the
Wow.
125 class. I mean, I was on 250F, which clearly I was cheating according to everyone. But the highlight of the day was that first moto that I got seventh. I beat both Yamaha Troy factory riders, Ernesto Fonseca
Yeah.
and Nathan Ramsey. I beat both of those guys.
But that
So
went down well.
that was a nice little feather in my cap. And if you know Ross Maeda from Enzo Racing, yeah, he made sure and reminded those guys that I was 38 years old. He goes, you guys, you might be able to get on the podium at a vet race, but as long as Doug doesn't show up. but, but I think they were 21 and 23 or something at the time.
Oh, but that
And
worked out.
I went to Millville and raced a 426 because I wanted to
Yeah,
do one of each class, but
yeah.
so I went 712 for 10th, and I wanted to get 10th in both, and I got freaking 11th in the
Oh,
450 class or two, whatever you call the class. But yeah,
good
but
result.
that was my last year. 2001 was my last year racing a national.
So I was sort of reading about that you sort of got asked to do all like the vet stuff and everything. So like, how many championships have you got now? It's like crazy. You know?
Yeah. so my first one was in '93 when I didn't want to admit that I was 30, but Mitch Payton talked me into it anyway.
Yeah.
And I've managed to win 27 titles in however many years. I haven't raced it in the last probably 5 years, but yeah, I've won
Bet they're glad.
every single year. Yeah, I mean, the records are kind of, whether you're freaking playing cards or marbles or whatever, just to win that many times in that many years, anything is a good record to have. So, yeah, it's like 27 wins in 26 years or something because I double classed. But yeah, so that was one of my last ones. Yeah, I won the 50 class. That's Kurt Nickel on one side of me and Keith Bowen, who was a factor guy for a lot of years, on the other side of me, and I won that day. So that was a good feeling.
Yeah, Kurt's still
But it's funny. It's kind of ever since Tom White passed away, because I think that was the year that Tom White passed away. Or maybe that was 1 year after. I think I only came back once after Tom, and it's just not the same. Yeah, that's got to be Glen Helen with that big flag in the background.
yeah, that looks epic. I'd love to see that in
Yeah,
real life. That looks amazing. Proper
yeah,
Nickel. It's a nice picture.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Loretta Lynn's. Yeah, went there, won again. Some pretty. I never attended Loretta Lynn's without walking out with at least one title. I won 9 titles in 6 years, so I double classed 3 times and then single classed the other times. So 3 times I won once, and 3 times I won double titles there. Which you think, oh, you're just riding against a bunch of old fogies in an amateur race, but guys like Trappist Parker showed up, and
Yeah, I was going to
you
say there's
know
riders, isn't there?
Treadwell. Yeah, I mean, a lot of fast old guys would show up. There'd be about 3 of us trying to kill each other, and we'd nearly lap the rest of the field.
Yeah, yeah. It was like Nickel still rides quite a lot still as well, doesn't he? And
Yeah,
he's always doing all that as well. I know that you've
yeah,
been doing all the Farley ones as well before the Fox Hill and
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a Fox Hills there. I mean, sorry, a Farley.
Farley.
Yeah, that's some good times riding some pretty good bikes. Yeah, especially like that year because I beat Kurt on his own bike, so that felt good. I might have reminded him once or twice
Yeah, maybe. I was going to say
that
once
I
or
beat
twice.
him on his own bike. Yeah.
Love the.
Oh yeah, yeah. People that do that artwork. Yeah,
That's pretty cool to get.
pretty cool stuff. Yeah, when we would go to Japan, these people would hand you these amazing drawings. It was always cool.
What was your weird superstitions then, Doug? Have you got still some that you
Yeah,
do now?
I didn't really have any. I kind of would always, put my right boot on before my left, or silly stuff. But yeah, I didn't. I wasn't like a Chad Reed where I'm, stuffing rabbit's feet down in my boots or anything. But yeah, there's some people that had some pretty goofy stuff. But yeah, I really, I just tried to be consistent. Just always have a good outlook and appreciate being at the races. That was something that carried me a long ways. Just looking at the opportunity I had.
So what's the future plans then, Doug? You plan on keep riding all over Europe, and you're still going to have your bit?
And just never go back home.
No, exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, it's
I look up to you.
being retired from daily work has been nice. It's given me some
Yeah.
opportunity to go around and do some things that I wouldn't have been able to. I used to only be able to sneak away from home for a week at a time because the shop would just go crazy if I wasn't there. But it has been nice these last couple of years. It's been about 2 years since they started this acquisition, and it's just been great. It's just given me some freedom to do more of the things I like doing. And, I just turned 60 on my last birthday. So, I'm no spring chicken, but I still ride quite a bit. When I'm home, I'm riding at least once, twice a week, and riding a mountain bike and just, trying to stay active. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the end game is. I still do a little bit of testing for Yamaha when they need me, and still get out, test my own product, and it's a good place to be. I still have a lot of opportunity coming my way, and yeah, that's really all I can say is if I keep getting invited, and the time is there, and I can make it to these races. I just it's more memories you build and more relationships you build. So it's good. It's good to be an old dirt biker that still willing to ride.
And everyone loves you as well, Doug. Morris just put, what was the worst injury you had, and do you still carry old injuries?
Oh boy, how much longer do you have? Because I could tell you about. Well, arguably, in my whole career, I never spent a single night in the hospital up until it was like 2 days, 3 days before my 50th birthday. So about 10 years ago at Mammoth, I had a pretty good one. Pretty basic crash, but the way I crashed was straight into like a banked berm.
Yeah.
Just like it was a jump where we landed just before the bank berm, and they kind of water in between laps and that. I don't know what I hit, a little rock or something, but I just started to wash out, and then it grabbed and stood me up, and I just went from 40 miles an hour to zero.
Yeah. Stop.
And so I really massive rib cage injury, and they said like by the numbers 23 rib fractures, but what I effectively did, it's called a flail chest. So you break your whole rib cage away from your spine. So my whole left side was completely removed from my spine effectively. And so that was a big one. That just I can remember sitting there the night. It's like the third day in the hospital, and the X-ray tech. I kept having to go and get X-rays, and this guy, I'd seen him a couple times, and he kind of got a little friendlier, and he's like, I just have to tell you, that's the worst injury I've ever seen on a living person. Because I guess it's a common, like if you get broadsided in a car, like a car crash from like
Yeah.
someone running a red light or something,
Yeah.
and it kills a lot of people.
Yeah.
And my doctor that kind of got me through all of it said, yeah, if you weren't like an athlete, if you were just a Joe average and you got hit by a car and had that injury, yeah, you'd be done. So that kind of hit home a little bit. And, it's still not great. I don't have quite the lung capacity and all that I once did, but, whatever. It's part of the game we play. I've been fairly lucky through my whole life. I've had all the, I've got a really bad wrist that they keep wanting me to get fused and whatnot. But, knees and ankles and the standard old moto injuries, bad back, and yeah, you name it. But yeah, it's, I'm better than a lot,
Yeah.
not as good as some. I can't run, but, I got no problem cycling and whatnot. And so I don't know. I guess you sign up for it, and this is you kind of take the knocks and the bumps and bruises along the way.
Still whooping the kids as well.
Some of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Plenty of them.
Yeah, yeah. Not mine anymore. Mine's dang fast. He's
He just put Doug.
qualified for current nationals. I'm not that speed anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He just put Doug. Did you end up with your dad's black BB Chevy?
So that's a terrible story, actually. My father had a black. It was a 71 fleet side, as they call it, not a step side, but a fleet side Chevy. And that thing was great. He bought it out of state, so he had a 454 in it, and the little disc brake hubcaps and that. It was a very unique truck. And that
Yeah.
thing was famous around Costa Mesa where I lived at the time. And so it sat around and started rusting and that. And so I said to myself, I'm going to fix it. So I went through everything re-chromed, repainted, new tires, all the wheels, everything, and got it running again. Loaned it to my sister's husband. They sold it.
Oh,
Yeah.
what?
It's like, I'm like, hey, because I'm like, I'm not driving it. I just had it all fixed up like a year ago. It'd be great. You guys could drive it. And I kind of, they live 5 hours away, and I kind of lost touch with them. Not totally, they'd come down or we'd go up, whatever. And I said, hey, how's Dad's truck? Oh, we sold that a few months ago. And I'm like, what?
What the
So
hell?
that's a little bit of a touchy subject.
Yeah, wow.
So yeah, that's so how does he know about that? Did he somehow live in Southern
Yeah,
California?
yeah. He must, because he's also just followed that up with I forget what year it was, but the Vet Nationals at Glen Helen. The battle between you and Wardy was epic.
That was the second year. So 93, it was at Paris Raceway. The only time it was at Paris. In 94, it was at Glen Helen. And Wardy was determined to take back the crown because I took it from him at Paris.
Mhm.
And second, I won the first moto, not easily, but I won. It was, and second moto, got the whole shot about 4 laps in. It was only like an 8 lap race or something. I freaking washed out and just fell on a simple corner. He got around me. And then, yes, that was probably one of my best races. We went down, I passed him with 4 or 5 turns to go on the last lap to win the overall. And it was on. He was still super fast. We were both not too long removed from the American Nationals getting top fives and that. So
Yeah, yeah, of
that was a
course.
race.
Yeah,
That was a race. So yeah, I'm glad he got to see that because man, I can remember that.
it was
I remember
amazing.
the exact turn I fell in. I remember that big double in the back that he wasn't doing and I was, and that's what allowed me to get right there next to him. And yeah, good stuff. And thanks for tearing open that wound of my dad's truck. Yeah.
I can't believe that they borrowed it and they sold it. It's like, who does that? That's
Yeah.
crazy. What story that is. That's brilliant. I do appreciate your time. We'll have to do another one because I didn't even ask half my questions. But this is so cool. Hopefully we can do another one, a part two, if that's all right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, no, yeah. Just let me know whether I'm still over here or back home. It's easy
yeah,
for me because it's the middle of the day for me, so I'll just
yeah, yeah,
set aside a little time. And
yeah. That'd
yeah,
be cool.
it's always great, especially when you get people chiming in, just like my dad's truck or
Yeah,
the racing warranty. That kind of stuff is great because obviously I've forgotten probably a lot more than I ever knew. So it's
cool.
good to get people to kind of chime in and remind you of stuff that was truly fun and great times.
It's special to do the reminiscing and special years for sure. I remember all of it as a kid, watching it all on the VHS tapes, falling asleep to them. I used to love it.
Yeah, good stuff.
Thank you very much for doing this,
Well,
and we'll have
well,
sort of
Lee,
about 10
I appreciate it, and yeah, we will do it again. And
Yes.
Lee is kind of a little special name within my family. My father was Gary Lee Dubach. My grandfather was Lee Dubach, and
Ooh,
my oldest daughter, firstborn, the girl, we named her Riley, but we spelled it Ryle. So
nice.
yeah, so
Oh,
Lee's got a little personal hold within our family.
oh, beautiful. I'll take that anytime.
Yep. So, well, thanks for the interview. It was a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
yeah, hit me up, and we'll do it again down the road.
Yeah, definitely do a part 2, Doug. I really appreciate your time, my friend. Thank you
Okay.
very much. Thank you,
Thank
mate.
you. Have a good
All the,
night, everyone.
yeah, all the best in Italy as well. Have a good
Thank
time.
you. Thank
Cheers,
you.
legend. Thank you, mate. What a legend. Doug Dubach, what a legend he is. We'll get a part 2 with that man. What a guy he is. Didn't even do half of my questions. He talks so well. He's so detailed. I can just tell how experienced, and you can tell the details, and then yeah, so detailed. You can tell that he analyzes everything, and you could just tell he was a test. He did all the testing right and stuff, and all the testing stuff. Hey, cheers for coming on, Shane. Thanks, Mark, for coming on. That was super cool, wasn't it? So yeah, I'm on tomorrow night again, 7 p.m. UK time tomorrow, so an hour earlier, and I'm going to be with Danny Laporte, another American legend, former world champion and AMA champion. I think he was 500cc AMA champion in '79, I believe, and then I think it was 1982 250 world champion as well. Then he went on and won desert racing stuff. He did all that as well, and then I think he even did rally carring, and he did Paris Dakar, was second in that as well. So lots of cool stuff to discuss tomorrow as well. But we'll definitely have to do a part 2 with the doctor. Loved all the details. He remembers everything, which is really cool. Super cool to do the reminiscing, obviously, and yeah, that was beautiful. So I'm gonna go and get some tea, some late night tea here as well. So from my old man, use his old saying, it's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. Good night and God bless all, and hopefully some of you guys will join me tomorrow night for Danny Laporte. Cheers all.